I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Right now, 35 in Clear at O'Hare, 35 at Midway, 27 in Aurora, 26 in Kankakee. Your next news update is at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
This is the time of year to enjoy life, so stop letting pain in your joints keep you from doing what you want to do this spring. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking lasting joint pain relief, folks. No surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. QC Kinetics is literally transforming lives. Their advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. No pain pills, no risky surgery. This is an all-natural solution. QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients who've reclaimed their mobility. Take action now. Live your best life this spring and summer. It's a great use of your tax refund, by the way. So call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, it's Scott Tucker, host of Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker, heard on AM 560 on Sundays at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. I want to offer you a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? To get your free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Just go to retirementdakota.com. That's retirementdakota.com. And please listen every Sunday at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. No one has ever mistaken Donald Trump and Jeb Bush for bosom buddies. That's why it's significant that Jeb Bush, along with co-author Joe Lonsdale, recently took to the pages of the Wall Street Journal to denounce legal decisions against Donald Trump in New York and Elon Musk in Delaware. Bush rightly points out that one needn't be a fan of either Trump or Musk to have serious concerns about the decisions. Both suggest that our legal system is being used to punish people disliked or feared by our country's elites. The U.S. economy will suffer if entrepreneurs decide their assets here are at risk because of capricious legal judgments. Worse yet, if ordinary Americans decide there's no longer equality before the law, respect for the law will disappear. Once that happens, our country is changed forever, and not for the better. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
You are a creator. You've been inspired to design and craft incredible works of art. But nothing derails you like not having the right materials you need to get the project done. K&S Precision Metals prides itself on having the right metal pieces for you to be a maker. With a huge array of metal products for every part of your project, from beginning design to the finished product, K&S Precision Metals provides brass, aluminum, copper, stainless steel tubing, wire, and more. K&S Precision Metals only supplies the highest quality metal items. Each piece is pure metal with no lead or fillers. You can feel good that your project is made with metal manufactured right here in the USA. K&S Precision Metals are used by the medical and movie industries, artists, crafters, engineers, and educators. Family owned and operated in Chicago for over 76 years. Most orders are shipped within a day. Order direct at ksmetals.com. That's ksmetals.com. K&S Precision Metals. Our materials, your creations.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. And the dueling visits to the border from the former president and the current one went about as one might expect. Biden spent his time at the border shuffling around, reading off note cards so he knew which questions to ask, and then offering these prepared remarks, very predictable that he would make the bipartisan call to remember that it's not a red-blue thing, it's an America thing, and can't you come over to my side, or I'll come over to your side, Donald Trump, and let's get together and support that border surrender legislation that was so dutifully curated by McConnell and Schumer.
We need to act. It's time for the speakers and some of my Republican friends in Congress who are blocking this bill to show a little spine. Pass a bipartisan, remember, bipartisan, conservative leaders supported this border security bill. Let's remember who we work for God's sake. We work for the American people. Let me end with this. I understand my predecessor's an Eagle Pass today. So here's what I would say to Mr. Trump. Instead of playing politics with this issue, instead of telling members of Congress to block this legislation, join me, or I'll join you in telling the Congress to pass this bipartisan border security bill. We can do it together. You know and I know it's the toughest, most efficient, most effective border security bill this country has ever seen. So instead of playing politics with the issue, why don't we just get together and get it done? Let's remember who the heck we work for. We work for the American people, not the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. We work for the American people.
Oh, so tough. Oh, wow.
So, Red Rover, Donald Trump come across the aisle and over. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. There was advanced billing that we may hear Biden issue some executive orders that would have been Trumpian in nature, but that didn't happen. Instead, it was just the reiteration of that siren song of bipartisanship.
I mean, he's such a feckless leader. And first of all, do you think he even knew where he was? And then when he got there, he was in Brownsville, where there's no action, Dan. And then they had him kind of walk near the Rio Grande. There was a brushy area. It could have been a little creek. Nothing was going on, and they brought in this boat to make it look like they're patrolling the border. And as soon as he left, they took that boat out of the water and left. I mean, don't be fooled by this guy. And of course, There was one point in time, because I watched I find this fascinating for some reason, where he was meandering. It was time to start, so you had to approach the lectern and give your speech. And this lady from the Border Patrol, she was acting like Jill Biden all day, babysitting him. This is her telling him where to go when he was staring at a picture on an easel. Hold on one second. Hold on. Oh, just take some phone calls. I can't find the soundbite right now. But 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Oh, here it is.
It's amazing.
Thank you, HSI. Thank you, ERO. Sir, it's time for remarks. And our briefers, I invite you to our seats, and then we'll escort you this way.
And he's still staring. Okay.
Great job. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it is worth noting that there, were some, Border Patrol rank and file that had been assembled as backdrop for Biden. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the leadership, and, this is always interesting, too, because I know how pro-union Democrats are, right? And you respect these unions. But for some reason, that respect, it's sort of like with experts. For some reason, you defer to the experts unquestionably, except when it comes to law enforcement or border security. And when it comes to unions, whatever the unions want, except for law enforcement and border security. Brandon Judd, the head of the union for the border security.
President Biden going to Brownsville, did the Border Patrol Union ever get any outreach or invitation from the White House about that visit?
Not at all, and I didn't expect it. He's not going to listen to voices of reason. He's not going to listen to people that are going to tell him what he actually needs to secure the border, the programs, the operations, the policies. He doesn't want to hear any of that, and if he would have invited me, that's exactly what I would have said.
Yeah, he doesn't want to hear that. No. From the unions, though, what happened? What happened to the love affair with unions? Oh, not the law enforcement or border security unions. I just can't make that point strongly enough. Experts have spoken, except when it comes to law enforcement or border security, then we just ignore them. Then we become the experts, clearly. Raul Ortiz was the head of border security for the Biden administration between the years 2021 and 2023, relatively recently.
The only way you're going to actually hear firsthand is by talking to those Border Patrol officials, by meeting with the chief of the Border Patrol. I've made it perfectly clear. When I was the chief, I never once met with the president or the vice president. And I think it's long overdue that they sit down and roll up their sleeves and start coming up with some solutions.
So your point person for border security, neither the president or vice president ever met with, as one wag contextualize it, President Biden has met with Dylan Mulvaney more times than he's met with the Border Patrol chief.
It's true.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of an illustration of priorities, I suppose.
And Biden brought Mayorkas, and Trump was with Greg Abbott, the governor.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, which dynamic duo do you like better there?
Yeah, speaking of that Jeff Bezos impersonator, Ali Mayorkas, well, and going back to the executive order thing.
Uh-huh. They could reverse it. Just get out a pen and paper. Just reverse it.
Well, I mean, we were reminded of this upon the occasion of these dueling visits. We were reminding of this statement back a couple of years ago when they were beating their chests about doing the opposite of everything Trump did on every issue. Ali Mayorkas on MSNBC talking to Nicole Wallace said this.
And I'd like to understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
I mean, what?
So if you rescinded them, then you could reinstitute them.
Right, with the stroke of a pen.
Nobody wants to ask those impertinent questions. Chris and Carrie are on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, I'm glad you guys brought up the whole union thing. It's sickening that he will stand behind every other union but this one. It's
The one union or the few unions that don't know what they're doing and they're to be completely ignored, police and border security. I find that fascinating. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a rhetorical question, of course, but why, if this is a national security issue, why doesn't he push it through like he did with COVID and everything else? I mean, just ignore the Republicans and do it.
He has
no interest.
He has pushed it through. You just heard Mayorkas talk about how they pushed it through. They pushed through their policy agenda on border security. They did it. It's done. So there's nothing more to do except bipartisan, blah, blah, blah. Except try to come up with a bipartisan facade to convince people that you're serious about border security, that somehow this crisis was unanticipated and it's the fault of all parties involved equally and so on and so forth. But that's the irony of it. He did by executive order what he wanted to do. It's already done. You just heard Mayorkas detail it. Thanks for the call, Chris. Why doesn't he just do this? He already did what he wanted to do. He doesn't want to do what you want him to do. That's why he doesn't do it. Clay in Libertyville.
Good morning, Dana. Joe was probably staring at that picture on that easel because it reminded him of an original Hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that my son's blowout?
Yeah.
I say Trump calls his bluff, and I say, hey, if I was Trump, hey, let's meet, let's discuss it. It would take an extreme amount of restraint, and it might open Trump up just because of who he is. But I see that. And I want to know, why does everything require a bill? Why can't you just tell these guys to go do their jobs? Why does it always need a bill? Why are we always trying to pass bills to solve solutions that are already on the books? Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Clay. Yeah, actually, the whole prospect of a Biden-Trump meeting at the border, no less.
Right.
It's like something
Western movie.
like something out of High Noon. I was going to say, yeah.
And then they show Biden and they show Trump.
Yeah, they come from opposite sides, like a tumbleweed rolls by, so forth.
Good old classic shootout.
Something like out of Breaking Bad, maybe. Jordan in Forest Park.
You know, I'm still waiting for the Republican leadership to go in front of the cameras and say, you know what, we pushed the wrong buttons on our calculator. We now realize that after 10 years, this 5,000 a day will equal 25 million. And so we'll be willing to think about, let's instead of 5,000 a day, let's talk about 20 a day or 50 a day, and let's let Biden respond to it.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Jordan. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll cede any additional time to get a Senate Republican response and to Biden, and not from McConnell or Langford, but how about Rand Paul on Kudlow yesterday?
We have 700,000 people came across in the last 2 months, and they're willing just to punt on that. You know, they put forward a fake proposal. It wasn't any good. We shot it down, but that doesn't mean we're ready to give up on it. Many of us want to fight. 32 of us out of 48, 3/4 of us said we wanted to keep fighting. We want to actually fix the border before we ship $100 billion of our money overseas. I meet no one in Kentucky, no conservatives across the land that are for this, but the leadership of the Senate under Mitch McConnell is more concerned with sending your money to Ukraine than they are with the invasion of the southern border. And I've had enough. I'm going to do everything in my power to slow down and stop this. And I told them they can vote when hell freezes over, because, frankly, this isn't in the best interest of our country. The money has to be borrowed. We don't have $100 billion sitting around. We borrow $1.5 trillion, and they're going to borrow another $100 billion. So essentially, we ask China for money to send it to Ukraine. It makes us weaker. It's bad for our country. Mitch McConnell, Joe Biden, and Chuck Schumer are wrong on this, and I'm going to do everything I can to slow them down at the very least. And possibly there'll be enough of an uprising of people calling in and saying, Mitch McConnell, who are you? Do you represent the Republicans? Do you represent conservatives? Are you in lockstep with Chuck Schumer?
Coming up at 5:30, we'll take more of your calls. We'll have more from the border visits from the two presidents, including Trump disclosing that he had a conversation with Laken Riley's family, and then how this is all playing out. Just more evidence of how this is playing out in Big Blue City, America, from Boston to Seattle. That's at 5:38.
But now let's stop into that newsroom. Get the latest with Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
5:31 on AM 560. The Answer, 32 degrees and clear skies. The Senate approving a short-term funding bill to avert a partial government shutdown over the weekend. Legislation kicks two government funding deadlines down the road, March 8 and March 22. President Biden extending a weak olive branch to former President Trump to try and work together to pass a bipartisan immigration bill. Both men were in Texas yesterday, Biden near Brownsville.
As president, I will carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history to remove Joe Biden's illegals and murderers, because that's what many of them are.
Donald Trump near the overrun border town of Eagle Pass. This is the same legislation the GOP blocked in February that Biden once talked about. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny is being laid to rest today. Funeral services will be open to the public, but some have warned that mourners who attend may be facing a risk. The largest wildfire in Texas history has now claimed 2 lives since beginning on Monday north of Amarillo. Chief Nim Kidd warns the state residents to stay alert.
Friday and into the weekend, you're going to start seeing some adverse weather conditions come back to us. I don't want the community there to feel a false sense of security that all of these fires will not grow anymore. This is still a very dynamic situation.
Fires have burned more than 1 million acres in Texas and now Oklahoma, and killed 2. The Missouri Republican Party has begun the court process of having a candidate for governor removed from their primary ballot. That after its leaders have learned the candidate reportedly has been associated with the KKK and other white supremacy groups. Chicago police and fire this morning report a man was hospitalized after a fire in an apartment building on the west side late Thursday night. 20 people, including 5 children, were displaced. Chicago police are investigating another series of violent robberies, all in 90 minutes Thursday morning in the Hermosa and Logan Square neighborhoods. A Chicago man facing first-degree murder charges connected to a deadly shooting on the South Side Monday. Travell Pruitt is accused of firing several shots during an argument near South State and 71st, killing Simon Brown, Sr. Murder trial of Chicago police officer Ella French continues with more body cam footage shown in court on Thursday. Meantime, the Chicago FOP is pushing to make changes to how the pension board operates. The FOP says officers hurt on the job are too often put on no-pay status for months and sometimes years before appeals courts hear their case.
This is a real shame because our officers are out there every single day working to protect us in the city of Chicago, and this pension board is turning their backs on them. That's not right.
Several have been put on no-pay status after 1 year of disability benefits and then burning through their vacation comp and other sick time. Several cases, including Danny Golden, who was paralyzed breaking up a bar fight while off duty, are still pending. And the FOP is pushing legislation in Springfield and trying to work with the city council to have more representation on the pension board. Blackhawks blank by Colorado 5-0. Bulls take on the Bucks tonight. Cubs rattle off 16 hits, still fall to Colorado 10-9, and the White Sox won both ends of their split spring doubleheader. The news, a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency, providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. We'll have a check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John tomorrow afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right tomorrow afternoon at 4, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Protecting and growing your retirement assets can be complicated.
From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Mark Kohler, host of Retirement and Income Radio, heard Sundays at 11 a.m., helps retirees in or near retirement protect their accounts from market volatility. Mark can help you create lifetime guaranteed inflation-hedged income. Call Mark today at 844-619-SAFE. That's 844-619-7233. And listen this Sunday at 11 a.m. to Retirement and Income Radio.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. No one has ever mistaken Donald Trump and Jeb Bush for bosom buddies. That's why it's significant that Jeb Bush, along with co-author Joe Lonsdale, recently took to the pages of the Wall Street Journal to denounce legal decisions against Donald Trump in New York and Elon Musk in Delaware. Bush rightly points out that one needn't be a fan of either Trump or Musk to have serious concerns about the decisions. Both suggest that our legal system is being used to punish people disliked or feared by our country's elites. The U.S. economy will suffer if entrepreneurs decide their assets here are at risk because of capricious legal judgments. Worse yet, if ordinary Americans decide there's no longer equality before the law, respect for the law will disappear. Once that happens, our country is changed forever, and not for the better. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Business owners, own a custom-designed building from General Steel. Call 866-95-STEEL. That's 866-957-8335.
5:38. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Not too many delays. Inbound Dan Ryan already seeing brake lights between 95th and 87th. Bishop Ford is jamming up 111th into the Stony Island feeder. Kenosha, Wisconsin. Friends to the north. Accident left lane blocked on 41. Southbound side just after Highway 50. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Sun, then increasing clouds, a high near 50 today, clearing in 35 overnight, sunshine and warmer tomorrow, a high near 62. It's 32 under partly cloudy skies at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We were talking about the two presidents' respective runs to the border yesterday, Biden and Trump. Biden pitching a bipartisan kumbaya to formally surrender and allow the importation to continue, but in a more organized fashion. Just slow the flow slightly so that it's doesn't seem as chaotic. Make it a little bit more orderly. The orderly going out of business sale for America, just like we've had for Illinois for the last 20 years. Just very orderly. President Trump, during his remarks, disclosed something important, that he had spoken with family of Laken Riley, the nursing student who was murdered in Georgia by allegedly by a person here illegally from Venezuela, and a big vigil for both her and another student who committed suicide tragically at the University of Georgia. But anyway, here's what Trump had to say about Laken Riley. He'll say her name.
Just 1 week ago, a beautiful 22-year-old nursing student from Georgia was barbarically attacked, almost unrecognizable, while she was out on her morning run. She was a morning run. She was doing keep herself in shape. She was a beautiful young woman. She was a great person, best nursing student there was. I spoke to her parents yesterday. They're incredible people. They're devastated beyond belief. But she was beautiful, just so beautiful in so many ways, and brutally assaulted, horrifically beaten, kidnapped, and savagely murdered. The monster that charged in the death is an illegal alien migrant who was led into our country and released into our communities by crooked Joe Biden. He's crooked. I took the name away from Hillary because she's no longer relevant, I guess. She was terrible, but what he is doing is just unbelievable. Joe Biden will never say Laken Riley's name, but we will say it and we will remember it. We're not going to forget her. It's been just a horrible story that we've had to live with for the last few days. It's hard to believe. And her parents are just, they can never be the same.
I mean, he has the blood of countless innocent victims on his hands, Biden does. And I think Trump was successful at getting that point across yesterday.
In the last week, we've had people in this country illegally arrested for murdering a nursing student in Georgia, Laken Riley.
The 2-year-old.
Murdering a 2-year-old boy in Maryland.
Yeah.
Raping a minor in Virginia. Raping a minor at knife point in Louisiana. And also this one, we've talked about all those 4 cases that were I just mentioned. But also this one, shooting 3 D.C. police officers.
Oh, really?
Barricade suspect accused of shooting 3 D.C. police officers is Jamaican citizen in U.S. illegally. The man accused of shooting 3 D.C. police officers, leading to an hours-long standoff, is in the U.S. illegally, according to ICE. And you won't be surprised by what follows. He has a criminal history that dates back to 1995, including previous convictions for larceny and drug charges. ICE says he was also deported to Jamaica in 2001 and came back into the U.S. illegally.
Of course. That's what they do.
He was arrested on the evening of February 14th, hours after police attempted to serve a warrant at his home for alleged animal cruelty. When officers arrived, he opened fire through his front door, hitting 3 of them, then barricading himself inside and refusing to come out for 12 hours. Yeah. So that's the last week. And again,
good week. Yeah.
It's a few individuals and so on and so forth as percentage of the whole. Right. And there's no distinctions made, and there's no process apparently in place that we can have any confidence in that would remove people who shouldn't be here and people who shouldn't be let in the first place.
Well, President
shouldn't have been let in the first place.
Sorry for interrupting. President Biden, he was asked about Laken Riley when he walked away from the platform.
Mr. President, do you bear any responsibility for Laken Riley's death?
They hit some goofy piano music. I mean, what are we on the promenade deck on the Love Boat? They had a pianist there. Like, did you see him play? I mean,
he's deferring his answer on the topic to first Katie Porter, and then the mayor of Athens, Georgia, and now KJP. They're having a real problem messaging on Laken Riley's murder because they're cardboard cutout human beings. That's why they're having this problem. KJP on CNN pitching the White House's position on Laken Riley.
Again, I mean, this is a horrific loss for any family, and obviously, if whoever is found guilty, we need to make sure that that happens. And obviously, we don't want to see anything happen like that again. But here's the thing: we have done the work to make sure we're dealing with a broken immigration system. The Republicans have gotten in the way. They have gotten in the way. And that's what we continue to see over and over and over again. And so, look, this is a serious matter.
Man, she is smooth.
she is so bad at her job. She's got to be the worst press secretary I've ever seen in my life. And she's no empathy.
That's saying something. I mean, I think of Dee Dee Myers and Boy, that is saying something. Even her predecessor, Jen Psaki, she was also a one-dimensional human being. Jen Psaki is with lizard blood.
Well,
Nick in Hinsdale, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I want to know if there's any way you can run it up the ladder. Why not start using the language of the Democrats are responsible for this craziness that's going on with the immigration instead of just pinning it on Biden? In my opinion, Biden steps down in May or June, and then they'll say, "Oh, that was Biden that did that." His Democrats have been silenced the whole time on this, and you should start calling out the Democrats instead of just Joe Biden, because I have a feeling other people will run, and then you put it on their plate instead of just saying, "Oh, well, Biden did it. We didn't do it." You follow me?
Yeah, I do. Thanks for the call, Nick. I would say two things. One is, as I continue to say, barring a health event, Joe Biden is going to be the nominee.
Right.
So that's
had one yesterday.
Number one. Number two, even if that weren't the case, I mean, I agree with you that it's the entire Democrat Socialist Party that's responsible, and many of them are happy to accept the responsibility. So they've all dutifully defended Biden. They've all dutifully defended Mayorkas. Many of them are even more strident in their rhetoric than Biden and his spokeshumans like KJP. So I don't think they're going to be able to extricate themselves from the last 3 years of being party to this position, because it's their position. It's not like you're going to have, even if Biden were to be replaced, for example, it's not like you're going to have a replacement that has any
different policies,
has said anything different or has any better record. I mean, could you imagine if Gavin Newsom was the nominee?
I would get sick to my stomach.
Yeah, but California is a catastrophe, and this is the guy who's furthest up Biden's backside rhetorically, trying to run interference and flack for him. So
California is a rolling dumpster fire.
So anyway, I don't think that they're going to be able to say, just say, oh, that was just this one guy. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to solve. By the way, there are some natives getting restless within the Democrat Socialist Party, particularly on this issue of violent criminals that are allowed to roam about the country freely until they commit one too many violent crimes, and then they have to be prosecuted and put in one of our prisons. After a few crimes and a few times in, then they cross that Rubicon, and we have to do something about it, even the left.
Well,
but
think of how many times.
Hold on a second. Mayor Adams, New York City. He's starting to wobble on sanctuary city status for New York City, just on the margins, but it's a wobble nonetheless.
Now, the overwhelming number of migrants and asylum seekers that are here, they want to work. I still don't understand why the federal government is not allowing them to work. They need to have the right to work, like all of us that have come to this country had the ability to do so. But those small numbers that are committing crimes, we need to modify the sanctuary city law that if you commit a felony, a violent act, we should be able to turn you over to ICE and have you deported. It is a right to live in this city, and you should be not committing crimes in our city for doing so. Right now, we don't have the authority to do so.
Think of how many times our government failed Laken Riley. Nationally at the border when they let him in to El Paso in 2021. Then in New York, child endangerment. He injured a child, and they did not deport him. So Eric Adams might be feeling guilty about that we failed her then. And then they failed her again in Georgia. I mean, he was caught shoplifting a week before, stole $200 worth of items from Walmart. They should have deported him then.
Yeah.
If they saw his past criminal record.
So Eric Adams is wrong about this idea everybody should get a work visa for that's here illegally. I mean, this is the way to try to normalize and ultimately institutionalize coming here illegally and then being essentially treated as a citizen, or frankly, in some cases, treated better than a citizen with all the benefits associated. But the idea that we need to be able to turn people who commit crimes over to ICE, that's not something you're hearing from BLM Brandon. That's not something you're hearing from the London Breed in San Francisco. You're not hearing it from Michelle Wu in Boston. So I'm just saying, little wobbly there from Eric Adams. He must be looking at Brandon Johnson's approval ratings. Brian in St. John, Indiana.
Hey, what's up? Good morning. So rhetorical question, but I believe if I'm correct, Senator Lankford from Oklahoma was the front man telling everyone to vote for that bipartisan package, and according to the voters' log, he voted no. So why is that?
I think he voted. I think he was one of 4 who actually voted yes, but this was after it was essentially conceded. McConnell publicly conceded that it wasn't going anywhere, which was why McConnell voted no to represent the majority of the caucus. But yeah, so Lankford, I sponsored it. I'll vote yes on it, even though I know it's going nowhere. But 4 senators, gave a symbolic vote, including Lankford, when the caucus had clearly abandoned it, starting with McConnell. Thanks for the call, Brian. Appreciate it. George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, Democrats love the sound of no one is illegal, but they're having a much harder sale with no crime is illegal.
Yeah, no question about it. And the concern is growing, too. It's gotten loud enough in New York City for Adams to make that slight move that we just documented.
Yeah.
It's starting to be a bit more cacophonous in Boston, too, where our very own Barrington, Illinois native is the mayor.
What's going on there? Because the people are taking people into their homes.
Yeah, well...
How's that working out?
There's a rich honky portion of Boston known as Fort Point. And the rich honkies...
Yeah, what are they doing?
Got wind that there's going to be a shelter in the neighborhood.
Did you just say a shelter in the neighborhood?
Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine, but they're a little jumpy all of a sudden. These, dutiful Biden and Wu voters and Healy voters in Boston and Warren voters and Markey voters. CBS reporting.
Tonight, some people who live in this neighborhood voiced their anger and frustration at a community meeting with state officials about this emergency shelter that's opening its doors. Neighbors feel like they had no say in this process, and officials had no answers for them either.
Wait. Can we kindly have a little bit of decorum in the room?
No, this is my neighborhood. Fuming neighbors who call Fort Point home grilled state officials about the 80 migrants who will call 24 Farnsworth Street a temporary home. The office space owned by the Unitarian Universalist Association will be turned into the latest overflow shelter.
How is it a done deal when you cannot answer these questions?
Safety and security, location, and facilities topping the concerns.
You said this is real. How are you going to ensure we're safe?
So we get no say as residents of the town, residents of the city, neighbors.
I would like to see a little bit more compassion. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Neighbors like Brian Curley say the community didn't have a voice before the decision was made.
I think there's a lot of angry residents here who feel the same way I do, that this was being forced on us.
Oh, no, not that. Give me a break.
I'd like to see a little bit more compassion from my point of view. Oh, would you, sir?
Yeah, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Shut the front door.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God, those poor people.
My heart bleeds.
But you know what? I got to tell you, there was a fire last night in Lawndale, and 20 people were, misplaced, or they needed a place to live, and they're scrambling to find them a place. Like, you help illegals right away. And there's it's just such, we live in such a clown world right now where we're not even taking care of our own American citizens first.
Gabby Schomburg.
Hi, good morning, guys. I've lived long enough to see Democrats are the party of the problem. They love nothing more than a huge, big, messy, dirty, sloppy problem that they can try to think they're going to jump in and save and push money into. Second point, where are these people going to work? These bleeding hearts, they just want to come here and work. I want you to ask the next question, where? They're uneducated. They don't speak the language. We're going to put them on a line job? We don't manufacture anything here. It's a crock of bull, and I'm sick of it. Sick of it, and I swear to you, I turned 63 this year, and I couldn't be happier. I lived through the greatest times of the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, some of the 2000s, but here we are. Take it Shove it up your backside. I'm done. Happy Friday. Talk to you later.
All right, thanks for the call, Gabby.
Well, I got to tell you, the shelter in our neighborhood, too, I drive by it every day, and it's just, there's so much garbage out there, and there's just people just doing, I don't know what they're doing. There's some activity over here. There's some group of guys over there. Some kids playing with a water bottle over there. Like, what is this?
Well, right. Well, where are they going to work? I mean, that's the Gabby question, and
right.
The answer is, what do you mean? If they don't speak the language and they don't have any skills, then you go where people with
for the rest of their lives?
No, they go work for the government.
Oh.
They'll run a midnight basketball league or a soccer program or something like that. Maybe they'll be the assistant to the deputy to the assistant to the superintendent of some department. Why not? I mean, we put
become police officers.
We put Irish politicians' idiot cousins in those jobs. I mean, you can hide them in government. I mean, Brandon Johnson is launching this program for our youth to be, employed on an annualized basis. We're setting up Gimme Dat grocery stores so they can be clerks at the Gimme Dat grocery stores. And if more cities would follow Brandon Johnson's lead to set up city-run grocery stores, then you'd have more jobs. There's plenty of room on the public payroll. They can be ESL trainers in CPS or New York City schools or Boston Public Schools.
Well, they are going to hire them for...
Good.
Our school. Yeah, but
right?
then they don't have to go through fingerprint checks.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Well, we all had to do that. They don't have to do that.
That's for you. It's not for them. David in Winnetka.
Hey, good morning, guys. Happy Friday. Thanks for taking my call. I'm just curious as to why somebody comes from another country and they commit a heinous, horrible act. They're called a criminal, yet our own population creates multiple violent repeat felons, and they're called victims. And it's just
they're not criminals. They're newcomers. People here that come here are newcomers. That's the official terminology from the White House. That comes right from the top. They're newcomers, and some newcomers might commit a crime and become victims, like Americans who commit crimes are victims. You see, that's how you do it.
Absolutely. And one. Do you think this was all started to make the population here that ours violent felons and this and that to tip the scale to make it seem as if we didn't have any problem until the immigrants came?
No, I thanks for the call. I don't think anybody believes we didn't have any problems until Biden threw open the door. We certainly had problems. I mean, I don't think the summer of 2020 is that far in the rearview mirror, not just to mention the endemic crime in big cities, what's been happening over the last several years, all throughout COVID and subsequently. I don't think people have any delusions that we don't have an indigenous problem, too. This just exacerbates it, of course. All right, coming up at 6:06. Remember earlier in the week we had those two professors from Colby College in Maine talking about the rural voter? Mm-hmm. We've got a competing book on the rural voter. And this competing book suggests that it's time to round up all those rural voters because they pose the greatest threat to American democracy. 6:06.
But now, let's stop by the newsroom and check in with Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
No suspects ID'd after a violent Northwest Side crime spree. A man in custody after stabbing teens in the south suburbs, killing one. The Blackhawks get blanked by the Avs. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
It's like a war. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what former President Trump said visiting the border in Texas.
Who can want this? Who can want millions of people from lots of bad places pouring into our country?
Telling Fox's Hannity in Eagle Pass that it's Biden border policies to blame for record illegal immigration.
15, 16, maybe 18 million people have already crossed.
At the same time, Fox's Jessica Rosenthal reports President Biden was also at the border in Brownsville.
President Biden met with border agents, ICE agents, asylum officers, and others, and said he heard the same thing, that they all need more resources. He said they would have them if a recent border bill hadn't failed due to politics. And then he addressed former President Trump directly.
You know and I know it's the toughest, most efficient, most effective border security bill this country has ever seen. So instead of playing politics with the issue, why don't we just get together and get it done?
Also, while in Texas, former President Trump said he spoke with the parents of Laken Riley, the nursing student killed last week in Georgia.
They're devastated beyond belief. But she was beautiful, just so beautiful in so many ways, and brutally assaulted, horrifically beaten.
ICE says that Riley's accused killer, Jose Ibarra, came into the U.S. illegally in 2022.
That's Fox's Madison Scarpino. She's in Woodstock, Georgia, where the funeral is today, and says Ibarra
is in an Athens jail without bond, and his lawyers are not asking for bail. It's unclear when he'll be in court next.
The funeral is right now at a church in Moscow for Alexei Navalny, the Russian opposition leader who died in prison 2 weeks ago. Hundreds have gathered, but there's a large police presence and fears mourners could be arrested. A police officer is being mourned, shot and killed in Independence, Missouri.
You don't raise your hand and go towards danger when others typically run away without something that is ingrained in your spirit.
That's Police Chief Adam Dustman. The gunman was wounded and returned fire after he was getting an eviction notice. He also killed a man delivering court papers and wounded another officer. America's listening to Fox News.
32 degrees. Skies are clear. We are near sunrise this morning at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police and fire tell us that a man was hospitalized after a fire in an apartment building on the west side late last night. 20 people, including 5 children, are now displaced. Chicago police are investigating another series of violent robberies in 90 minutes Thursday morning. All of the incidents happened in the Hermosa and Logan Square neighborhoods.
They'll probably just push them, punch them, and take their cell, and that's not good.
No suspects have been identified. Witnesses say 4 armed suspects fled the scene. The murder trial of Chicago police officer Ella French continues. More body cam footage was shown in court on Thursday. Meantime, the Chicago FOP is now pushing to make changes on how the pension board operates. The FOP says officers hurt on the job are too often put on no-pay status for months, sometimes years, before appeals in their case are allowed. Several cases, including Danny Golden, who was paralyzed breaking up a bar fight while off duty, and Sarah Hecker, who shattered her knee while on duty, are in limbo.
I was given duty disability benefits, and then they were stripped away against my doctor's orders, and I'm currently going without pay. Because of that, I am also diagnosed with PTSD that the city is aware of. So I am no longer able to pay for that care.
The union is also pushing for structural changes on the board and how quickly cases move through that system. 7 convicted felons are petitioning the court to overturn their convictions in Cook County.
I'm still trying to cope with living the free life. You know, there's things that I can't do. There's places I can't go. It's a struggle. Still a struggle every day.
Jason Aguiar speaking with reporters yesterday about his case, along with several others. All of the men have completed sentences handed down to them for crimes they say they did not commit, and all of those cases are linked to former Chicago retired detective Reynaldo Guevara. Chicago sports, Blackhawks blank 5-0 in a loss to Colorado. Cubs rattle off 16 hits but still lose to Colorado 10-9. They take on the White Sox later today after the Sox split both ends of a double dip in spring ball. The News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes, ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, TuneIn.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like climbing a mountain, but that mountain is also covered in banana peels. Then when something new gets added to your list, you're like, nope, I'm already climbing this huge super slippery banana peel mountain of a to-do list. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to manage your policy on our mobile app, so climbing that banana peel mountain feels more like a leisurely stroll. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Well, switch to Pure Talk today and you'll get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. Now, qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and, of course, mobile hotspot. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk, claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone. Start saving on wireless today and switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
You know what? I actually am starting to feel better every day. Every day a little better.
I've been with you all a while now. I swear by it. Yeah, I love it. I bought a lot of stuff that didn't work before, but they do help me a lot. I tell everybody about it. I tell all my friends. I swear by it.
I've been taking it for years. I am 65, and the stuff that I'm able to do it amazes people that are in their 40s.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Dan Ryan inbound jammed up slow. Inbound between 31st and 18th. I-80 road work causing big westbound delays between Route 47 and the Seneca interchange. Winfield report of an accident. Roosevelt Road and Winfield Road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our AccuWeather meteorologist Steve Williams.
Some sun to get going this morning, then increasing cloudiness. The high today at 48. Clear tonight, chilly, low 35. Sunny day tomorrow, the high at 62. Sunny clouds, a breezy warm day on Sunday, the high at 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Partly cloudy, 32 at O'Hare, 33 at Midway, 27 in Aurora, 28 in Morris, 29 in Lansing. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So earlier in the week, we had this conversation with Nicholas Jacobs and Daniel Shea. These are two poli-sci professors at Colby College in Maine. And they did this comprehensive study of rural voters in America. 10,000 surveys, I believe was the number. And to try to, sort of distill their attitudes about things and sort of compare and contrast to urban and suburban voters and give a picture of generally speaking, the attitudes of rural voters and why they're so strongly affiliated with the Republican Party these days, generally, and specifically Trump. And a lot of it just came down to their positions on issues aren't that dissimilar to center-right voters in the suburbs or in cities. But the feeling that they are patronized and caricatured by the urban voters and the urban media, that's really what came across. And so perhaps there's a little bit more of a recoil to things urban and suburban from rural voters because of that, because of the feeling that they're looked down upon, seen as less than. A good example of this was provided by Kamala Harris not so long ago in one of her Deep Thoughts offerings.
And now, Deep Thoughts.
People are talking about potential compromises. Is agreeing to voter ID one of those compromises that you'd support?
I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean. Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't, there's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are.
Right. They don't have that technology. They live in the 18th century, maybe the 17th. They have to take their horse and buggy a couple of days to get to the voting place where they, paw the dirt with their foot to indicate who they're going to vote for. So that's sort of what we're talking about. And what the professors were talking about in a very, very interesting conversation. If you didn't catch it, I'll tweet it this morning. It's worth checking out. It's worth listening to. It's worth picking up their book.
I mean, it's so insulting.
If you think that's insulting,
What is the
then
worst?
you haven't heard anything yet. There is a competing book about rural voters, since they provide the foundation of Trump support, and since they're a little bit of an incremental increase in their turnout in rural counties and swing states like Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is not in play for Democrats. I mean, it really is. You move that turnout in some of those rural counties. I mean, actually, in aggregate in the rural counties in Wisconsin, up a couple of points. It's not dissimilar to what we talk about in Illinois. If you get south of I-80, if you get X percentage of the vote, a couple points, and all of a sudden Illinois is potentially in play, or at least it was once upon a time. But again, if you thought that sort of absurd, embarrassing, patronizing attitude from Kamala Harris was insulting, oh man. This competing book, the main professor's book, is called The Rural Voter. Okay. There's another book. This is a book that was apparently written by a American Prospect Amazon Post columnist named Paul Waldman and the University of Maryland professor named Tom Schaller. And that book is called White Rural Rage. And they were on Morning Joe to talk about white rural rage and how rural voters are a threat to democracy because rural voters, they are a malignancy. They are a malevolent force in America. I mean, this is really a screed here. This is Professor Tom Schaller from University of Maryland talking to Mika about their book.
Why are white rural voters a threat to democracy at this point? You would think, as we pointed out, looking at Joe Biden's background and Donald Trump's, that the opposite would be true.
I mean, we lay out the fourfold interconnected threat that white rural voters pose to the country. First of all, and we show 30 polls and national studies to demonstrate this, so we provide the receipts in Chapter 6. They're the most racist, xenophobic, anti-immigrant, and anti-gay geodemographic group in the country. Second, they're the most conspiracist group. QAnon support and subscribers, election denialism, COVID denialism and scientific skepticism, Obama birtherism. Third, anti-democratic sentiments. They don't believe in an independent press, free speech. They're most likely to say the president should be able to act unilaterally without any checks from Congress or the courts or the bureaucracy. They're also the most strongly white nationalist and white Christian nationalists. And fourth, they are most likely to excuse or justify violence as an acceptable alternative to peaceful public discourse.
Round up the farmers. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. If there are any honky rural voters out there that would like to offer apologies, we're here to listen and pass on your contrition to Professor Schaller and columnist Waldman.
I don't know, Dan, if they have a phone to call on.
Well, that's true. They
or
don't
if you want to text us, I don't know if they know how to text because
maybe if they go down to the Kinko's. I don't have a Kinko's in my neighborhood either, by the way.
What is a Kinko? I mean,
exactly right. Does anybody anymore? I don't know. Anyway, yes. So I mean, that is quite a. So you're the white rural voter is a racist, a xenophobe, a conspiracy theorist, illiberal, authoritarian impulses, and prone to violence.
Well, hey,
but other than that,
that farmer feeds you, so I'd shut up. There's no respect for farmers.
Well,
My God.
Obviously, it's not just farmers because rural voters are not just farmers, but
if you don't live in a big city, if you're not cool like them, then you're a racist. You're
Remember,
a MAGA. I mean, do you
yeah.
think they're getting scared right now, or what?
Remember when after 2016, it was how thick is your bubble, and we need to understand what's going out there in exurban and rural areas, and so we're going to do these fact-finding missions and be very considered and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's all by the boards. Trump voters are insurrectionists. Rural voters are sort of the alpha insurrectionists, and they all need to be properly tagged and captured, because they're a threat to democracy.
Oh, that's right.
That's the basis of the book. Yeah. So ignore the 10,000 surveys that those Maine professors did and the conclusions they drew. Ignore what you know to be true by, just existing in the world. This is, as I said, this is an army of authoritarian honkies that want to exact their view of how society should be organized through violence. Is there a lot of evidence for that? What are the rates of violence in rural communities as opposed to urban? But I digress. Gosh, it's really interesting to listen to a professor, no less. Oh yeah, University of Maryland professor offer that litany of ad hominem. And then, his ilk cast themselves as opposed to othering. Let's not other people except the others that we don't like. Very compelling. Boy. John in Florence, Wisconsin. Tell us about white rural rage in Florence, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so what? That's what I got to say. Who, after Pauline Gay and the plagiarism and all the nonsense that's been pushed off by the people with educations, I'm not anti anybody or anything. The fact that I can walk out with a long gun and shoot off my front porch just means that I hit what I aim at and that I want to be left alone. I used to live down in unincorporated Cook County, Tinley Park, Oak Forest, 175th and Cicero, right in there.
Too fast paced
highway for the folks. Yeah,
too fast paced for you.
When you're getting shaken down by the Cook County people or the Oak Forest Fire Department or the Cook County sheriffs, and came up here because they were having the sex scandals with kids in the rich places down there, destroying homes. I got 5 kids. Came to get away from the nonsense, and now the nonsense is trying to follow us. And as far as the academics and the people in power, if they haven't proved, Lex Friedman and Tucker just did 3 hours extended. Say what you want about any of them. There is no there's no morality anymore coming out of the cities. It's I hate to go cliche, decline and fall of the Roman Empire. If you can't see that the country is in a crisis right now, then you don't know the difference between cow shit and horse shit.
Yeah, we say cow dung and horse dung on radio that is FCC regulated, of course. Grant in Rockford. Thanks for the call, John.
Good morning, you guys. That guy hit the nail on the head. It may say Grant in Rockford, but I'm out in the sticks on 50 acres with cows and horses and chickens. And
is there a Kinko's nearby, by any chance?
Do you know how to use a copying machine?
Well, believe it or not, I think I could stumble my way through it. But those smug SOBs, we're the only things keeping them safe. There's a gun in every corner of the room of every house out here. You think China doesn't know that? And I would love to see a wall go up around the cities in 3 days. They'd be eating themselves. Have a good day.
Wow.
Angry. Candace in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin.
This white talk has been going on for a long time, and I haven't heard enough conservatives on AM radio really talking about it, and I think that's strange, and where it's actually coming from. But to me, we're not an outpost of what the guy said. We're a Bolshevik outpost, which is about to go broke, and so that's why you're hearing all this balkanization all of a sudden and this importation of whatever their army's going to be against us, because we are a liability because they owe us money. It's called Social Security and all that, and they want to get rid of their liabilities. But my other point, Dan,
well, you're a political liability before you're a financial one. That's the real problem.
Let's just be honest, okay? Now, Wisconsin's not rural enough for me, and I work in a very small town. It's a farm town, and I love it, and I hear all the talk every day. And now I'm going into the hills. I mean, in the hills. No, I'm not kidding.
Okay. All right.
I want to be around those people when the stuff comes down. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they don't care. And they don't care. And if something happens, I don't know what's going to happen if somebody comes on their land. But I have an opinion. But
all right. The hills have eyes north of Mount Pleasant. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Candace.
Great text message. Dan and Amy, perhaps farmers of all colors should go on strike like the teachers do so the city folk can get some perspective on who needs who more.
Well, yeah, it's like the trucker convoys and stuff, too. I mean, among the ranks of truckers and other people who are sort of mission critical in the supply chain for all sorts of goods. I assume there's probably a good number of those white rural voters that are raging, according to Waldman and Schaller and MSNBC. But the best way, the best revenge, like Trump says, my revenge is going to be success. The revenge for the white rural voter for this kind of attitude and smearing that you just heard is to turn out. It's to turn out in maximum numbers in places like Wisconsin that matter.
Do not sit home. Do not sit this one out.
A couple of points puts Wisconsin in the win column. That's what the communication should be among folks in those communities. Be your brother's keeper and make sure your brother gets to the polls or votes early. Banks says vote early. Even better. Carl in District 12, whatever District 12 is. Carl.
I live up in rural Wisconsin, District 12 with the Hunger Games.
Okay.
I just called after I walked over to my Amish neighbors to call you and tell you that I do vote, and you can bet your sweet patootie I'll be marking that hardcore Republican ballot with my vote. And I
Bring the Amish with you.
My radio. I'm gonna.
Thanks for the call, Carl. Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, guys. A couple things. Number one, hey, if the rural voters are fed up with this, number one, they should vote just like you say. Get out in numbers. Everybody should vote. But number two, do like the truckers or New York are doing. Just plow those fields into nothing. Don't give anybody any soybeans, corn, wheat, or anything else, and see how the big city folks like it when 5 pounds of flour cost $50. It won't go over too well. Guys, have a good one.
Go full Ray Kinsella, put up a baseball field, get Joe Jackson to come out of it.
Oh, yeah.
The cornfield and so
Dan
forth.
and Amy, the rural voter national anthem should be try that in a small town.
Yeah, well, Andrew Champagne.
Hey, Dan and Nick, good morning. So I just wanted to kind of point out the obvious here. And, the guy that brought up the polls, I'm sure he's the same kind of guy that says there's a genocide against the trans community because they don't allow kids to transition. It's absolutely hilarious. And just a second quick point, too. I live in central Illinois. I actually work for a company where we maintain all the grain elevators down here. And I work with people who are from, white, Hispanic, African-American, every race. And it's amazing how these people feel completely comfortable working with all these farmers and all of us, very supposedly violent and terrible people. I mean, it's just hilarious to listen to.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks for the call, Andrew. I mean, that's why I said, listen to what the good professor has to say, and then bump that up against your lived experience. I mean, that this is the whole point. I mean, this is what identitarianism is about: is trying to pit people against one another based on identity. What did Thomas Sowell say in that interview with Peter Robinson a couple months ago on the occasion of his latest book? I mean, I just love this line, which is why I repeat it all the time. Peter Robinson asked Thomas Sowell, simple question: if the identitarians get everything they want, if they get everything they want from a policy perspective, what would be happening in America right now? And Thomas Sowell said, we'd be killing each other. And some of them certainly know that. And the ones that don't, that's hardly a defense. And we are somewhat killing each other, but not on the scale that Sowell's talking about if they got everything they want. So just understand their end game. Whether they are intentional, whether some are intentional about it and others are not, maybe just ignorant, useful idiots. Of course, there's always those. If they get everything they want, what would be happening? We'd be killing each other. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
In a big city like Chicago, we all know that there are challenges, especially for children. But behind the staggering statistics we often hear about, there are real kids who need support to overcome these barriers. That's what By the Hand Club for Kids is all about. By the Hand Club for Kids is a faith-based, nonprofit organization serving children in some of Chicago's most under-resourced neighborhoods, places like Austin, Englewood, Cabrini Green, and Altgeld Gardens. By the Hand Club for Kids runs after-school programs for children that nurture their minds, their bodies, and their souls. Right now, By the Hand Club for Kids is serving nearly 1,800 children, and we need your help. Your one-time gift of just $120 will provide a day of after-school programming for 2 children. Or you can become a club champion and give a monthly gift of just $40, which will provide for 8 children in the next year. Give that gift today by going to bythehand.org/radio. That's bythehand.org/radio.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
AM 560, The Answer.
A couple more texts on rural voters from 847. Funny thing is, if those asshat authors ever broke down on the road near a rural town, they'd likely be picked up and given assistance.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Also, this email, if they are the army for the left, this will make Gallipoli look like a win for the Allies. I think he means a win for the Entente powers versus the Central powers. But anyway, I take the point. Very good. Coming up at 6:36, we'll talk supercore inflation, which is running hot with Scott the Cow Guy Shellady.
Oh, and our new neighbors, the illegals in Chicago, are not happy with the food. They're filing complaints. But now let's head into that news.
31 degrees this morning at 6:32. President Biden calling on former President Trump to support a border bill that was rejected by many lawmakers, including Republicans, last month. Texas Department of Public Safety spokesman Lieutenant Chris Olivares tells Fox he believes there doesn't need to be another bill. The feds just need to do their job.
The federal government has the ability. They can take executive action and close the border and secure it and prevent tragic crimes that are taking place across the country at the hands of illegal immigrants, but they refuse to do that. They continue to play politics.
President Biden making his visit to the border the same day that former President Trump visited with the governor of Texas and more in Eagle Pass. The House has approved a short-term funding bill avoiding a partial government shutdown. The Senate is expected to vote on the legislation before Friday's deadline. The funeral for Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny is underway. A large crowd is gathered for the services in Moscow. It's a dangerous blizzard hitting the California mountains with heavy snow and 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts this morning.
Forecasters say a Pacific storm will bring blizzard conditions and likely as much as 10 feet of snow to Northern California and the mountains surrounding Lake Tahoe, as well as Yosemite National Park. Travelers can expect dangerous to impossible conditions Friday night into Saturday, with near zero visibility expected. Some residents are preparing by stocking up on food, fuel, and supplies, anticipating being caught at home for a few days. Evan Brown, Fox News.
Chick-fil-A telling customers, throw it away, some of their unused sauce. The company saying on Thursday customers should get rid of any Polynesian dipping sauces that they got their hands on between February 14 and February 27th because of allergy concerns. Chicago Police and Fire report a man was hospitalized for fire in an apartment building on the west side Thursday night. Police said 20, including 5 children, are now displaced. A Chicago man facing first-degree murder charges connected to a deadly shooting on the South Side Monday. Travell Pruitt is accused of firing the shots that killed Simon Brown. Another innocent bystander was also killed. Several others were injured in that case. The murder trial of Chicago Police Officer Ella French continues. More body cam footage was shown in court Thursday, the third day of testimony in the case. Blackhawks lost to Colorado 5-0. Well, the Cubs lost to Colorado 10-9 in spring ball. White Sox split their doubleheader in spring training. Michael Kopech will start for the Sox against the Cubs today. The news is a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. Lower.com, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
You know what? I actually am starting to feel better every day. Every day a little better.
I've been with you all a while now. I swear by it. Yeah, I love it. I bought a lot of stuff that didn't work before, but they do help me a lot. I tell everybody about it. I tell all my friends. I swear by it.
I've been taking it for years. I am 65, and the stuff that I'm able to do it amazes people that are in their 40s.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Dr. Kent Mercado, and I'm running for Congress in the 11th District. I'm a physician, attorney, humanitarian, father, and husband. And I have had the privilege of speaking with several thousand residents, and I've heard your concerns. And they are kitchen table issues, the economy, education, safety, and secure borders, access to quality and affordable physical and mental health care. I'm here to be your voice. Please vote for Dr. Kent Mercado for Congress on March 19th in the Republican primary.
This message was paid for and approved by Dr. Kent Mercado for Congress.
There is a place in northern Illinois that people have come from all around the globe seeking treasure.
It's amazing. I didn't know what to expect, but when I got there, I was surrounded by all kinds of gold and silver.
An actual place where you're surrounded by treasure?
I've known that gold and silver were a good investment, but I really didn't want to buy it through the mail. At Fox Valley Coins, I basically walked in, picked out what I wanted, paid cash, and walked out with gold and silver.
Walk in with paper and walk out with actual gold and silver bars. For decades, Fox Valley Coins has traded paper dollars for actual gold and silver. They buy and sell. The treasure map is available at foxvalleycoins.com. They are on Route 59, 1 light north of I-88 in Naperville, Illinois. Again, for info and the map, seek foxvalleycoins.com.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code RADIO for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code RADIO.
6:39. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Dan Ryan inbound stop and go locals between 35th and 18th. Bishop Ford jamming into the Ryan merge already this morning. Tri-State Tollway heavy and slow southbound between 111th to right before Cicero due to a much earlier accident. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sun will increase through the morning and then clouds creep in for the afternoon. High of 48, clearing and 35 overnight. Tomorrow's sunshine and warmer, a high of 62. Currently 32 at O'Hare, 33 at Midway, 27 in Aurora, 32 in Wheeling, 34 along Chicago's lakefront. And your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, some concerning numbers on the inflation front. Supercore inflation soared in January. Service costs reaccelerating. In January, the only thing that the Fed cares about in terms of rate setting, as I understand it from our friends who are experts like Jim Perry, is the supercore inflation number. In January, that number was rose by 6%. It's the highest number since December of 2021, and the third highest report in the last 5 years. In December, it was 2.8%. This is excludes food, energy, and shelter, all of which are also rising, but it excludes that, and it's still running at 6%. The pre-pandemic average was 2%. Supercore inflation at 6% now. Pre-pandemic, the average was 2%. Even during the pandemic, when you started to print and distribute the funny money, they averaged about 4%. So now it's 50% higher than it was when the printing presses were running and checks were being distributed during the lockdowns. As I read from Jim Perry in his newsletter, this is his language. Perry Capital remains hawkish on inflation. Portfolio risks are skewed toward higher interest rates and lower equity market valuations, and no Fed cuts in 2024. Well, if that's what the street comes to believe, that you won't see interest rate cuts in 2024, then that's certainly maybe the one thing that can negatively impact the equity markets. I don't know what that will mean for Bitcoin. As Bitcoin soared up to over 60,000. We want to talk to Scott the Cow Guy about that too, because that is a.
Are you invested in Bitcoin?
It's an interesting dynamic. I mean, is Bitcoin becoming sort of the like the equity markets? You can't fight City Hall. You can't fight the Fed. I'm not sure. But I mean, just on the inflation piece, again, this is a real fundamental problem for the political ruling class, starting with the hillbilly family from Wilmington, Delaware, and the president, the big guy, because you can say one thing and you can talk low unemployment numbers and you can talk where the equity markets are. And the problem is you can't talk to people who are getting hammered at the pump and at the grocery store and with their energy bills at home and with the services they need and so on and so forth. And that seems to be what that supercore inflation number is indicating, Amy. I know you have your goldfish and Count Chocula tests to figure out where inflation is as it pertains to you.
Well, inflation, it's awful. I mean, it's not getting better anytime soon. I don't know if anybody's noticed that gas prices are going through the roof once again, too. So in Chicago now, we're creeping to $4.50. I drove by one place yesterday. I was near Roosevelt and Dan Ryan, and it was almost $5. So there's not gonna be relief anytime soon. And of course, yes, cereal. Do you know what I do on the weekends, Dan? When I go to Indiana, I go to the Walmart and I buy cereal for Quinn and his family because same box
they can have dinner.
Yeah, so they can have dinner because it's what's for dinner.
Cereal's what's for dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Biden economy, right?
Yeah, no, but and Steve Moore laughed at that, but that really happened. I mean, the CEO of Kellogg said if you're struggling financially, take a box of cereal. But the boxes of cereal that he's talking about in Chicago, that box of Crispix would be $11.99. When I bought it at the Walmart in Hammond, Indiana, for Quinn and his family, it was $3.99.
Next time
that's
you go,
big. I swear to God, I came back with honeycomb. I came back with Crispy. What else did I get?
Oh, all the healthy options. Fruity Pebbles. Did you get any Fruity
No,
Pebbles?
my God, Justin. What was the other thing I gave him? It was Honeycomb, Mega Box, Crispex, Family Size, and the third one. Oh, Apple Jacks. Apple Jacks, yes. The healthy one, because you want your apples.
Yes. Yeah. Those are
not
all
coated with
healthy
sugar.
choices. Oh, my goodness.
But that whole thing costs $10 for those 3 big boxes, and one box in the city is almost $12. So I don't know how people do it. I mean, people on it, because I go to the grocery store all the time, and people do gasp. They go when they look at things, at the prices. So our America is not any better under Biden, and that's what I think of every time when I think about Trump, how life was easier. I had more money in the bank account, more money in the checking account, in the savings account. And with Biden's America, it's not good.
Well, it also speaks to this idea, there's all sorts of theories surrounding the election about what's going to happen. We've talked about many of them, including this one, which is that Jay Powell, singing for his supper, wanting to keep his job, will cut rates closer to the election to provide a little bit of a boomlet in the equity markets to buoy the electoral chances of
Right.
President Biden.
But then if Biden wins, what's going to happen?
Well, pull that back for a second.
Okay.
But the point is to say, if inflation is running this hot, suits again, super core at 6%, that becomes a little bit more complicated, and perhaps it doesn't have the desired effect of enhancing Biden's electoral chances. But it really speaks to the issue that, look, this is probably something very similar to what we're experiencing in March, is what people will be feeling, as the calendar turns toward November in 8 months. And it's just hard to think that there'll be such a reversal of fortune that people will feel much better about being able to keep up with the prices of things when their wages aren't keeping up with the increase. The wage bumps that they've received in many cases are not keeping up with the cost of living, and people feel it, and it's reflected in the surveys that say, I don't think the country is on the right track. I don't think that I'm less economically secure than I was pre-Biden. It's the are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And a majority of Americans right now are saying no. And that inflation number says they're probably likely to continue saying no right through November. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. No one has ever mistaken Donald Trump and Jeb Bush for bosom buddies. That's why it's significant that Jeb Bush, along with co-author Joe Lonsdale, recently took to the pages of the Wall Street Journal to denounce legal decisions against Donald Trump in New York and Elon Musk in Delaware. Bush rightly points out that one needn't be a fan of either Trump or Musk to have serious concerns about the decisions. Both suggest that our legal system is being used to punish people disliked or feared by our country's elites. The U.S. economy will suffer if entrepreneurs decide their assets here are at risk because of capricious legal judgments. Worse yet, if ordinary Americans decide there's no longer equality before the law, respect for the law will disappear. Once that happens, our country is changed forever, and not for the better. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
All right. Is your house cold? You think maybe it's coming from the windows? Oh, no, it's probably your attic. And our good friends at Permaseal have a new attic insulation design to maximize energy efficiency, ensuring your home stays comfortable year-round. Guess what? If you're not testing, you're guessing. Permaseal certified installers use digital imaging cameras and a blower door test. Woo! So they can get right to the source. You'll be more comfortable. Insulation helps your home stay cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter, lower utility bills. Installing the proper amount of insulation is one of the quickest ways to get a return on your investment. And the old insulation can contain dust and mold, so you want a healthy home. Start by calling our good friends at Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-7325. Schedule your free estimate or go online and visit permaseal.net.
The Fed is setting a digital dollar control trap. The new FedNow system might sound modern and convenient, but the truth is It's all about surveillance and control. Don't be fooled. Secure your assets right now with something Washington cannot manipulate. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon, former advisor to Donald Trump. And in these times of uncertainty, I believe the best way to defend your savings is to use tangible assets, which is why I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Because gold has a 5,000-year track record as the ultimate guardian of wealth. To learn more, get a free info kit by texting the word HEDGE to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust, so text HEDGE to the number 989898. That's HEDGE to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. There's no obligation or purchase required.
Message and data rates may apply.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
You know what? I actually am starting to feel better every day. Every day a little better.
I've been with you all a while now. I swear by it. Yeah, I love it. I bought a lot of stuff that didn't work before, but they do help me a lot. I tell everybody about it. I tell all my friends. I swear by it.
I've been taking it for years. I am 65, and the stuff that I'm able to do is, it amazes people that are in their 40s.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Larry Nora, founder and CEO of U-Store, a network of award-winning self-storage facilities in the Chicago area, and a customer of Signature Bank. We've developed over 70 storage centers throughout the city and suburbs, and our business continues to grow. We need a bank who understands the neighborhoods and communities where we are making investments. We found that in Signature Bank. They know this city and its neighborhoods because they are based right here in Chicago. Finding a local banking institution like Signature Bank has been critical to the success of U-Store, and we look forward to a long-term relationship.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, with my current want list for upcoming auctions. Guns and military items are always at the top of my list, but I have buyers for vintage automobiles and motorcycles, old gas pumps and automotive signs. Do you have pinball machines and coin-operated games like slot machines, jukeboxes? How about Coke machines and soda machines? Also, neon signs, antique phonographs and music boxes, old toys, especially science fiction and Star Wars. Cowboy and Native American collections like barbershop, ice cream parlor, and saloon items. We'll take one item or an entire collection. We sell it all. Call me before you sell your items outright because you could be leaving a fortune on the table. And you won't know until you call me at 815-923-7000 or send me an email at DonnellyAuctions.com. My job is to get you top dollar for your collections, so call me at 815-923-7000. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
AM560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, we Talked a bit about what's happening in Boston earlier in the program. Fort Point, Tony neighborhood in Boston. The rich leftist honkies there, are a little upset that a migrant shelter is going to be located in their neighborhood, and they didn't have much to say about it. Yeah. In New York, Eric Adams is coming off of Sanctuary City a bit. We need to be able to turn people who commit crimes over to ICE. Whoa.
Hey, no. Pump the brakes there, fella.
In Seattle, it's going the opposite way. Sort of. Very interesting.
This is a crazy story, yes.
People in this country illegally are organizing with some of the Pearl Jam fans in Seattle that believe in open borders to demand that the city council, that the city, continue to pay for their housing. So they're petitioning their government because, what's the difference between a citizen and a non-citizen?
Seattle City Council disrupted as asylum seekers and their supporters once again pleaded for support. Council President Sarah Nelson saying there are limited resources here.
I don't really want to participate in a conversation that should be had with county leaders, state leaders, federal leaders.
Council ultimately took a break from the meeting in the middle of chants from protesters yelling on behalf of the refugees. At one point, Councilmember Kathy Moore requested that SPD take action.
A request that we have police response. Our physical safety is being threatened by the actions of the demonstrators outside banging on the windows.
Eventually, arrests were made. It's the second time in 2 months that the group from Latin America has called upon Seattle leaders to fund their temporary housing. Refugees have been living in different area hotels, most recently this one in Kent. That stay was funded by Seattle taxpayers. Genesis from Venezuela said she knows this protest wasn't the most correct thing to do, but they've got kids. They feel pressured to act for them.
For the children.
Oh, boy. There's so many layers to this. I mean, this is Seattle. This is the home of the autonomous zone.
Right. I thought police were bad. Now they're asking for the police help.
Yeah, our secure right. I mean, this was the defund the police Seattle City Council. This is the summer of love, former Mayor Jenny Durkin, Seattle. What happened to the love? What happened to defunding the police? What happened to being a welcoming city? What happened to financing our newcomers? Now we're talking about, I don't feel safe. Police, please remove these people, and their resources are finite. What is all this Trumpian talk emanating from the Seattle City Council? I'm offended.
Well,
how dare they?
I'm telling you, here in Chicago, our migrants, our new neighbors, our illegals are not happy. They don't like the food. There were 248 grievances lodged by illegals that are staying in more than our 24 city-run shelters. They say that some of the staff members are making racist remarks, Dan. One lady was complaining because she couldn't get milk at 11 o'clock at night to feed to her kid. And they said there's a lack of cleanliness. The place is too dirty for them.
Well, that doesn't sound like an operation run by BLM Brandon to me.
No.
The Gimme Dat shelters?
The Gimme Dat
They're
shelters?
They don't have the good housekeeping seal? I'm shocked.
Well, you know what? Guess what?
Almost as shocked as I am for the city council, enlisting police to keep order.
Uh-oh.
Where did this notion come from? Crazy times.
If it's dirty, clean it yourself. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll continue this conversation about border security with the two presidents making that run to the border they did yesterday with Bret Baier, of course, host of Special Report on Fox News. He joins us at 7:07.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
No suspects ID'd after a violent Northwest Side crime spree. Felons linked to a disgraced Chicago detective are appealing their convictions. A new residential property is growing at the old Spire site, and the Bulls host the Bucks tonight. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
They could be arrested for even showing up. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, but hundreds of mourners went to a church in Moscow for Alexei Navalny's funeral with a heavy police presence watching.
You can't not come. Let them see that many remember, many know. It's not possible to silence it.
Navalny, a Russian opposition leader and strong critic of President Putin, died suddenly in a prison 2 weeks ago. And when his casket arrived, the crowd paid tribute. Some chanted Navalny and no to war. His widow claims Putin had him murdered. They've now moved to a cemetery for Navalny's funeral. Later today, Lake and Riley's funerals in Georgia. The nursing student killed last week while jogging in Athens.
The monster that charged in the death is an illegal alien migrant who was led into our country and released into our communities by crooked Joe Biden. He's crooked.
Former President Trump says he called her parents, offering condolences. He was visiting the border in Eagle Pass, Texas, telling Fox's Sean Hannity.
This is now a war zone, and they view it as a war zone. And Mexico's doing nothing to help us.
At the same time, President Biden was at the border in Brownsville, Texas.
Here's what I would say to Mr. Trump. Instead of playing politics with this issue, instead of telling members of Congress to block this legislation, join me.
He blames Republicans in Congress for not allowing a bill he says would rein in record illegal immigration. Last night at the Capitol,
the yeas are 77, the nays are 13, and the bill is passed.
The Senate joins the House approving short-term funding to avert a partial government shutdown this weekend, giving them more time to approve spending for the rest of the fiscal year. As the biggest wildfire in Texas history keeps burning nearly uncontained, worry about wind.
Friday and into the weekend, you're going to start seeing some adverse weather conditions come back to us.
Emergency Management Chief Nim Kidd, that fire and others have scorched more than 1 million acres around the Texas Panhandle. 2 people have been killed. Dozens of homes burnt down. America's listening to Fox News.
31 degrees, sunshine at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police and fire report that a man was hospitalized after a blaze in an apartment building on the west side Thursday night. Police say 20 people, including 5 children, were now displaced. Chicago man facing first-degree murder charges, all connected to a deadly shooting on Chicago's south side in the Grand Crossing neighborhood. Travell Pruitt is accused of firing several shots during an argument near South State and 71st. Innocent bystanders were killed, several others injured. The murder trial of Chicago police officer Ella French continues. More body cam footage was shown in court Thursday, day 3 of testimony. A man suspected of stabbing 2 teenage boys, killing one of them, is in custody in Chicago Heights. 50-year-old Orion Hardy has been charged with murder and attempted murder. The Cook County ME's office has identified the boy who was killed as 13-year-old David Sanchez. 7 convicted felons are now petitioning Cook County courts to overturn their convictions.
I'm still trying to cope with living the free life. You know, there's things that I can't do. There's places I can't go. It's a struggle. It's still a struggle every day.
Jason Aguiar spoke with reporters yesterday about his case, along with several others. All of the cases are linked to former Chicago Police Detective Reynaldo Guevara. Guevara is accused of forcing confessions and manipulating witnesses while working in the Humboldt Park neighborhood back in the 1980s and 90s. Blackhawks blanked 5-0 in a loss to Colorado. Bulls host Milwaukee later on tonight. Cubs rattle off 16 hits but still lose to the Rockies 10-9 in spring ball. Cubs send Justin Steele to the mound against the White Sox later today. The News is a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday morning at 6:30, right here on AM 560, The Answer. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher doesn't see an end.
22 Republicans joined Democrats in sending billions more to Ukraine. That's right, 22 Republican senators evidently want to embark on what I think is a fool's errand. And that is the idea that there's any end game in sight for Russia and Ukraine. Because you know what? There's not. There is simply not.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like climbing a mountain, but that mountain is also covered in banana peels. Then when something new gets added to your list, you're like, nope, I'm already climbing this huge, super slippery banana peel mountain of a to-do list. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to manage your policy on our mobile app. So climbing that banana peel mountain feels more like a leisurely stroll. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Well, switch to Pure Talk today and you'll get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. Now, qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and, of course, mobile hotspot. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk, claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone. Start saving on wireless today and switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
It was the one thing that I was missing in my diet. And since me being a very active person, I do mountain biking, I do triathlons, I run, bike, so I'm always active, I couldn't say anything negative about this product. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's been 100% natural and I tell you, I feel amazing.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
7:07, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And it is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Buying all gold and silver bars and coins, silver dollars, rare date, proof, and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. Bartlett reported an accident Stearns east of Powys. South side, Indiana Avenue remains shut down north and southbound between 31st and 32nd. Police activity there. Bad accident in the Pilsen neighborhood. 16th remains shut down east and westbound between Ashland and Laughlin. Tri-State. Accident right shoulder on southbound 294 tucked between Southwest Highway and Cicero. And report of an accident, left lane block on the inbound Stevenson between Harlem Avenue and Cicero. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some sun early today, then increasing cloudiness. Our high today 48, clear tonight, cold, low 35. Sunny day tomorrow, the high 62. Sunny clouds, a breezy day on Sunday, the high at 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
31 and partly cloudy at O'Hare, 32 at Midway, 33 along the lakefront. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday, the competing visits to the border by the two presidents, the former and the current. The current, that would be Joe Biden, after milling about and reading some questions off note cards, he offered his prepared remarks in which he did not issue any new executive orders or suggest he would, to undo what they undid. Again, Homeland Security Secretary Ali Mayorkas, in September of 2021, when they were beating their chests about undoing everything that Trump did with respect to immigration.
And I'd like to understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
No need.
Oh my God.
We are living them. We know.
Yeah.
And so for those saying, why doesn't he do the things within his power. He has done the things within his power that he wants to do. They're already done. They were done a couple of years ago. Didn't you just hear from Ali Mayorkas? He doesn't want to do with his executive power what you want him to do. Is that coming across now? Because yesterday he didn't talk about executive power. He talked about Red Rovering Trump over so that they could work together to pass legislation that has zero interest among House Republicans and most Senate Republicans.
Yeah, but they blame Trump for that too.
Of course, but this is their
He's
posture.
influencing
The Laken Riley, it's a terrible thing, the gruesome murder of Laken Riley, but it's congressional Republicans' fault because they've done the work. They have this bipartisan group that wants to have a more orderly importation of people into this country illegally. Oh, and then also, $60 billion to Ukraine and so on and so forth. So we just need to get behind that bipartisan bill.
We need to act. It's time for the speakers and some of my Republican friends in Congress who are blocking this bill to show a little spine. Pass a bipartisan, remember, bipartisan. Conservative leaders supported this. Border security bill. Let's remember who we work for God's sake. We work for the American people. Let me end with this. I understand my predecessor's an Eagle Pass today. So here's what I would say to Mr. Trump. Instead of playing politics with this issue, instead of telling members of Congress to block this legislation, join me, or I'll join you in telling the Congress to pass this bipartisan border security bill. We can do it together. You know and I know. It's the toughest, most efficient, most effective border security bill this country has ever seen. So instead of playing politics with the issue, why don't we just get together and get it done? Let's remember who the heck we work for. We work for the American people, not the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. We work for the American people.
That Red Blue America rap worked once for Barack Obama at a convention about 18 years ago. And when they're really in trouble, that's what they go to. But it just doesn't have the same currency it did. You know what I mean?
It's a little stale.
20 years ago, I guess it was. It just doesn't work anymore. And by the way, here's the funny thing about being so collaborative or posturing as such. It'd be perhaps a little bit more persuasive if you were collaborative within your own administration. For example, your Border Patrol chief for 2 of the last 3 years, Raul Ortiz, Border Patrol chief for the Biden administration, 2021 to 2023.
The only way you're going to actually hear firsthand is by talking to those Border Patrol officials, by meeting with the chief of the Border Patrol. I've made it perfectly clear. When I was the chief, I never once met with the president or the vice president. And I think it's long overdue that they sit down and roll up their sleeves and start coming up with some solutions.
Mm-hmm. Right. But you're serious. You're working for the American people. But you have nothing to say and no interest in hearing what the people on the front lines have to say. It's odd. Brandon Judd, the union head for the Border Patrol.
President Biden going to Brownsville, did the Border Patrol Union ever get any outreach or invitation from the White House about that visit?
Not at all, and I didn't expect it. He's not going to listen to voices of reason. He's not going to listen to people that are going to tell him what he actually needs to secure the border, the programs, the operations, the policies. He doesn't want to hear any of that, and if he would have invited me, that's exactly what I would have said.
The one union boss he doesn't want to hear from.
Well, there's like the vice president of the Border Patrol Union, Chris Cabrera. He was on NBC News saying, the Border Patrol, we all think that Biden should not have reversed Trump's border policies.
Yeah.
He even said they were effective for us as Border Patrol agents in securing this country.
Which is why there's no invite, as Brandon Judd said. He doesn't want to hear from him.
Right.
For more on this, please be joined by Bret Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, 5 p.m. Chicago time, weekdays, of course. Best-selling author of To Rescue the Constitution, George Washington and the Fragile American Experiment, and The History Club, Duel Across Time, which is a graphic novel. Bret, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Morning.
So the White House thinks that this, Republicans are being obstructionist rap is going to work. This is the best they can come up with. They're going to stick with it.
It is definitely the thing that they can come up with, and it, for some on some cable channels, they can grasp onto it and run with it. The problem is there are other facts, as you guys were laying out. The 94 executive orders that were overturned January 21st, 2021, and there's just a lot that can be done in a snap of a finger, using a pen and a phone, like President Obama once said. I also think, you would not, it's kind of disingenuous to say that you're really concerned about the border when you're in federal court trying to cut the wires, the barbed wires that Governor Abbott is setting up on the Texas border. You're in court to try to open that up. And if you're saying that, you're trying to secure the border, why not assist Governor Abbott in that effort? Now they're in court, Texas is, to try to have control of their own border, essentially, and say, we'll pay for everything, we'll hire all the people, we will just take care of it as a state. And we'll see where that lawsuit goes.
Well, they're even going to build a military base there near Eagle Pass to house 1,800 or up to 1,800 National Guardsmen.
Yeah, and there's, pushback from the federal government of the control of the border as a federal issue. But it's gotten so bad that they have to do something.
Well, and high-profile, terrible crimes of a high-profile nature, murders, the rapes of young women. I mean, just in the 3 cops in D.C. shot by a Jamaican immigrant who's here illegally. I mean, that stuff resonates, not to mention the migrant shelters that are going up in Tony neighborhoods in Boston and New York and Chicago. That resonates, too. Resonates so much that Eric Adams in New York is starting to say, we need to be able to turn people who commit crimes in New York and are in this country illegally over to ICE, which is, it's a modest turn, but it's a distinct one nonetheless. So they've got problems sort of inside their party, inside the base camp for the Democrats, which is the big cities. And the suburbs, too, when you see that sort of criminal activity that is, and the backstory is many interactions with law enforcement, this could have been prevented, and we didn't do it. That's just, you just can't spin your way out of that by talking about inside the Beltway politics.
You're right, and it is affecting blue states and blue cities and sanctuary cities who don't want to be sanctuary cities anymore. It is a real issue that has now driven to the top of issues that people care about for this election. And it's pretty stunning if you think about this issue. We thought it was going to make a big difference in 2022. It didn't. It was kind of overshadowed by abortion and threat to democracy. But I think this election is going to be the immigration election, and it's shaping up to be that way. Now, on the flip side, I will say, legislating, you could have gone back and forth and said, I need this to be out of here and that to be out of here, and kept on going and try to get a bipartisan bill. Clearly, Republicans, and including the former president, want to use this issue politically. So there is some criticism on the other side. We're always one election away from, solving the big problems. And so that's what the Democrats are going to hold on to. And there's some element of, truth to that.
Yeah, but of course, then Republicans and Speaker Johnson come back and say, look, we passed H.R. 2. That contains what we want to happen. That contains what would secure the border, at least in the short term. And then we can have this longer, more complicated conversation about what immigration policy should look like in the United States and do some of that horse trading that you're talking about. I think if that's the response, then I think it sort of, returns the volley back to the Biden administration.
Yeah, and you've got Senator Fetterman coming out saying,
Yeah.
I'm for H.R. 2.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is the most evolved,
I know.
Where he was to where he is on both the Israel issue and Gaza and on the immigration issue. I mean, he is becoming, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema-esque.
So when Biden has this State of the State this month, because it's already March 1st now,
State of the Union.
State of the Union, excuse me. Do you think that he's going to come out and reverse some of these border policies, executive orders, before and then make the big announcement during the State of the Union?
It's possible. I mean, I thought he was going to do it on the border, but he would be smart to. He would be smart to, because that is a political albatross around his neck. It is really, really bad. It's as bad as the age issue, which is really, really bad.
He looked awful yesterday.
But on the flip side, let's talk about potential albatrosses around Trump's neck, the trials. So Fulton County is a complete catastrophe for them, and I don't see how Fani Willis survives to go on and prosecute that case, although I'd like her to.
Today.
Yeah, right, exactly. I hope she does, because she's so crippled herself. But the Supreme Court taking up, much anticipated, but taking up the immunity claim on the J6 issue probably pushes that off past November. But you've got Manhattan going March 25th. And now the classified docs case, Jack Smith is proposing a new trial date of July 8th, and the Trump legal team has countered with August 12th. Probably, especially if it's August, you can, through the pretrial proceedings, get that past November. But the prospect of Manhattan and possibly the classified docs case, I mean, these are still real wild cards in my estimation in terms of how the public will react if Trump is convicted, no matter how much attention has been drawn to them pre-trial, and the mentality, the convicted felon, and the advertising of we can't have a convicted felon in the White House if that should come to pass. It seems, I don't think that Trump is getting out ahead of that enough, especially knowing that Manhattan will be settled this spring. It looks like. What's your view on that? What's your handle, and what are Republicans chirping about inside the Beltway?
I think it's a concern, clearly, for Republicans, and it's a concern for all the down-ticket races, too. But they look at Manhattan as the flimsiest of the cases, the most apt for appeal, the most easily talked about as this was totally unfair. They look at the docs case as something that is going to take a while. You know, even if you get to July 8th for the trial, you have so many issues on classification for the lawyers to get to a level of clearance that it's just going to take a long time for all of that to happen. I think that's the most that's the biggest threat. Personally, I think that the docs case getting done before the election could be the biggest threat to him. But he has effectively said this whole bunch of cases, everything from the civil to the criminal to the January 6th to the docs, is an effort to take him down politically. And it's easy to connect those dots for somebody looking at it big picture. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening at the same time, all trying to speed up before the election, which is pretty telling.
Well, right. And the other thing, too, that we're seeing, particularly with respect to Fulton County, is a pretty strong circumstantial case, or at least it's coming into focus, that there was some Biden White House involvement with the Fulton County State's Attorney's Office in cooking up that case.
Which, if that comes to pass in not just what it is now, circumstantial, and if it becomes hard evidence, that's a dagger for not only that, but probably for a number of other cases.
He is Bret Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, weekdays 5 p.m., best-selling author of To Rescue the Constitution, George Washington and the Fragile American Experiment, and The History Club, Duel Across Time, which is a graphic novel. Bret, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
In a big city like Chicago, we all know that there are challenges, especially for children. But behind the staggering statistics we often hear about, there are real kids who need support to overcome these barriers. That's what By the Hand Club for Kids is all about. By the Hand Club for Kids is a faith-based, nonprofit organization serving children in some of Chicago's most under-resourced neighborhoods, places like Austin, Englewood, Cabrini Green, and Alkell Gardens. By the Hand Club for Kids runs after-school programs for children that nurture their minds, their bodies, and their souls. Right now, By the Hand Club for Kids is serving nearly 1,800 children, and we need your help. Your one-time gift of just $120 will provide a day of after-school programming for 2 children. Or you can become a club champion and give a monthly gift of just $40, which will provide for 8 children in the next year. Give that gift today by going to bythehand.org/radio. That's bythehand.org/radio.
Can't wait to do it. Take my Balance of Nature, doing it every day for a few years now. And I love it because I have so much more energy that I don't have to go get those B12 shots I used to get when I was so down in the dumps. Justin, our technical producer, he doesn't have his mid-afternoon slumps that he used to have because he takes Balance of Nature as well. So what it is, 31 different fruits and veggies in capsules. I take 3 fruits, 3 vegetables. Every day I crack mine open in a warm water, stir it, and voila, I'm ready to go. So feel good that you're doing something for yourself. Grab some bottles of Balance of Nature today. The number to call, 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or online at balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
Are you tired of the ups and downs of the stock market? Are you sick of logging into your brokerage account only to find out that you've lost hundreds or thousands of dollars in a single day? At MarketBeat, we know that constantly moving in and out of stocks hoping to get lucky is a loser's game. Buying hot stocks after they've already shot up in value is a recipe for disaster. It's time to stop playing the loser's game and invest in stocks that have shown they can stand the test of time. MarketBeat has prepared a free report titled 7 Stocks to Buy and Hold Forever, and we would like to text it to you for free. Text the word profit to 68285. The companies in this report might appear to be nothing special at first glance, but these companies print billions of dollars of cash each year in profit. If you would like to receive our free report of 7 stocks to buy and hold forever, simply text PROFIT to 68285 and we'll text you this report instantly. Text PROFIT to 68285 and we'll send you this free report right now. Text the word PROFIT to 68285.
Standard message and data rates may apply. Please consult with your investment or tax professional.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Frank Vance, co-owner of Egan Vance Insurance Agency on Chicago's Northwest Side and a customer of Signature Bank. In my line of work, we pride ourselves on being there for our clients when they need it the most, and we recognize when someone does the same for us. As Egan Vance was expanding, we wanted to buy a much sought-after building in the neighborhood. We couldn't waste any time. I called Signature Bank, and that was all it took. I didn't have to talk to multiple people in silo departments with multiple forms to fill out. One call did it all. As the one who was always looking out for my clients, it was a great change to know that my bank, Signature Bank, was looking out for me.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, Kamala Harris, she's the vice president, don't you know? She had some happy news this week about what the Biden administration is going to do to put a few dollars in the pockets of college kids and also, make sure we get full civic participation come November.
We have been doing work to promote voter participation for students. And, for example, we have, under the Federal Work Study program, now allow students to get paid through Federal Work Study to register people and to be nonpartisan poll workers. As we know, this is important for a number of reasons. One, to engage our young leaders in this process and activate them in terms of their ability to strengthen our communities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
activate them to strengthen our communities. That's what you're doing. Yeah. Hey, a good place to start the voter registration campaign is that migrant shelter right across town over there.
Here's $100 and we'll give you $10 for each one you register to vote.
Remember what New York Congresswoman Yvette Clarke had to say about migrants?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb
a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
Exactly. So locate them in my district and register them to vote. I think they've got plans for some other districts too, some other states. And enlist the college kids.
We lost our country.
To activate them to strengthen our communities. That's what it is. Sure.
Nonpartisan. I love that too.
Coming up at 7:37, we'll turn our attention to General Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, on the Hill, doing some splaining about his deception over his medical conditions and when he had abdicated his post without notifying anyone. The important exchange between Matt Gaetz and General Austin at 7:37.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Sunshine in Chicago. We have 32 degrees at 7:31. President Biden calling on former President Trump to back a border bill that was rejected by Republicans last month. Biden and Trump were both at the southern border yesterday. Friends and family members of Laken Riley, the student of nursing that was killed near the University of Georgia by an illegal immigrant from Venezuela, are preparing for her funeral service today.
Family and friends of Riley say that she was the type of person who cared for everyone that she met and was a passionate nursing student. Former President Donald Trump was at the border yesterday and said that he spoke with Riley's devastated parents.
Beautiful 22-year-old nursing student from Georgia was barbarically attacked, almost unrecognizable.
Riley's obituary says her smile was infectious and she spread joy everywhere she went. The visitation will be at noon and the funeral services start at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Riley's death has created a lot of controversy on immigration.
Riley died of blunt force trauma to the head. The killer did not know her prior to the incident. The largest wildfire in Texas history is now spread into Oklahoma. The Smokehouse Creek fire has scorched over 1 million acres, according to Hutchinson County Public Engagement Coordinator Deidre Thomas.
We're pretty much in shock for the most part, and the shock is starting to wear off, and reality is starting to set in.
Fires have burned again acreage in Texas and Oklahoma, and the fire has killed at least 2. A dangerous blizzard whipping through California's mountains, heavy snow, wind gusts of over 100 miles an hour, and an unbelievable number, up to 12 feet of snow is possible this weekend. Chicago police and fire report that a man was hospitalized after a fire in an apartment building on the west side Thursday night. 20 people, including 5 children, are now displaced. Chicago police are investigating another series of violent robberies, all in 90 minutes in the Hermosa and Logan Square neighborhoods on Thursday morning.
To probably just push him, punch him, and take the cell, and that's not good.
No suspects have been identified. Witnesses say 4 armed suspects fled in a dark-colored sedan. Blackhawks were blanked 5-0 in a loss to Colorado. Cubs rattle off 16 hits but lose to Colorado 10-9 in spring ball. Cubs send Justin Steele to the mound against the White Sox today after the White Sox won both ends of their split doubleheader. The news service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka sees our priorities in the wrong place.
The idea that you're sending $100 billion to other countries without doing anything to stop the invasion of America right now, to stop what this administration is doing as we are speaking to American lives.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Feel like you're trying to push a boulder uphill wearing skates? If you run or manage a local business today, you're challenged like never before. We get it, and we want to help. We're Salem Surround. We're a full-service marketing agency that'll help you increase your customer base by designing incredibly effective plans to reach your consumers day, night, and everywhere they might be.
If you're a local business and want to see what Salem Surround can do for you, visit surroundchicago.com. Remember to visit surroundchicago.com today.
Protecting and growing your retirement assets can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Mark Kohler, host of Retirement and Income Radio, heard Sundays at 11 a.m., helps retirees in or near retirement protect their accounts from market volatility. Mark can help you create lifetime guaranteed, inflation-hedged income. Call Mark today at 844-619-SAFE. That's 844-619-7233. And listen this Sunday at 11 a.m. to Retirement and Income Radio.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code RADIO for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code RADIO.
7:36. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg traffic center time. Round Lake commuters, Nippersink, eastbound between Fairfield and Cedar Lake Road, closed down completely as they investigate an accident. Bartlett reported an accident being pulled out of your way. Stearns, east of Powys. I-80 an accident eastbound at Manuka Road. Tri-State accident being cleaned up southbound 294 between Southwest Highway to right before Cicero. DuSable Lakeshore Drive has roadwork set up this morning northbound between Soldier Field and Grand Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. We see sunshine in the forecast for the morning, then increasing clouds, high 48, clearing in 35 overnight, sunshine in 62 tomorrow. Currently partly cloudy and 31 at O'Hare, 32 at Midway, clear and 27 in Aurora, 28 in Morris, 27 in Romeoville, and 33 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, Secretary of Defense General Lloyd Austin whistled before a House committee to explain himself, despite the fact that the Pentagon has given itself a clean bill of health. Even though Lloyd Austin admitted that he was wrong in not disclosing his medical condition and not notifying staff and not notifying the president when he went under the knife and was incapacitated, so that there was knowledge as to who was in charge at the Pentagon. Admitting that was wrong, and yet the Pentagon gets a clean bill of health. Nobody did anything wrong. Okay.
I mean, even though we're in the middle, well, not in the middle, but we're funding two major conflicts in the world right now. It's just another example of how this Biden administration is a complete failure.
Well, so I was sort of willing to let it go.
Oh, I was.
For this reason, because I understand being reluctant to disclose personal things about your health, right? We have the HIPAA laws, and they're probably a little bit too aggressive, but regardless, the idea of health privacy, I respect that. I get it. I get the disposition. I don't want to talk about my health condition. I don't want to. I get it.
He's cancer, and they kept passing it off as some elective surgery. It was complications from his prostate from a
I know what it was.
I know, but he's a public figure. He's the Secretary of Defense.
I
he doesn't
know.
have that
I know
same
he's
privacy that normal people have.
I know he's the Secretary of Defense.
I know. No, I'm just
my
saying,
point is to say he's still a human being, and I can appreciate that. He's a prideful man. I mean, he's a general. But. So I can appreciate not, don't get into my business. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. I'm taking care of it. I can understand that. I'm not saying what he did was right, but I can understand it. I can appreciate it. I can say, there needs to be a little bit more accountability than just an acknowledgement that you were wrong, because it's obvious you were wrong. Everybody knows you were wrong. You know you were wrong. So there needs to be some punishment associated with being wrong at that level. That's not happening. But I would let it go at that. But I won't with respect to Austin because of a comparison that I had thought about, but Matt Gaetz voiced during that committee hearing. What he wants from the political establishment and the American people, but he won't give to the service members that he dismissed. I think this is a nice juxtaposition about the different rules for the shot callers versus the hoi polloi, including in the military.
You didn't tell the president that you had cancer, that you were being treated for cancer, or that the treatment for that cancer had gone wrong because you saw it as personal and medical. And I think a lot of us have empathy for you in that regard. But now that you see how personal medical decisions are, will you call for the re-recruitment, restoration of full rank and back pay for the 8,600 service members who were vax mandated out of the military?
No, I won't.
So on March 4th, 2021, you authored a memo. It was entitled Message to the Force. And in that memo, you said that there would be clear and swift accountability for anyone who didn't meet the highest standards of the Department of Defense. Now, however this worked out, we all acknowledge that what you did here didn't meet the highest standards, right? You made a mistake.
I admit it to...
Yeah, okay, so we got that. So then the question is, what becomes the clear and swift accountability? Now, you're not going to be discharged, right? No?
That's right.
Okay, you're not going to be suspended. You're not going to be demoted, and you're not going to have your pay cut. None of those things are going to happen to you, right?
That's right.
Okay.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Gaetz continued to press the comparison.
Mr. Secretary, you come to us seeking forgiveness, but you offer none. And it seems as though the pattern is repeated. You make a mistake, like on the vax mandate and here regarding your notification, then you get busted. President Biden had to sign something into law reversing your vax mandate. You got busted here, not because you came forward, but because we learned of this through other means. And then after you get busted making a mistake, you want that benefit, but you don't want to extend it to others. This isn't swift or clear. You're not meeting your own standards that you set for yourself. And you say that the DOD is a learning organization. Haven't you learned yet that the military is weaker, not stronger, with the 8,600 people that you vax mandated out of the military?
How do you like that?
I love it. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
This is why you can't just walk away from COVID and allow those who were the shot callers to revise history. Another good example. The standards that are set and who has to abide them. The grace that is sought when somebody makes a mistake, like Lloyd Austin did, but the grace that won't be offered by those same people.
I mean, he cost our military dearly with his COVID actions.
So did the Biden administration. And it was essentially the courts intervening to require that rescission. But, Lloyd Austin won't give it because it was a command order and they violated the order. Well, they didn't violate the order because they were being disrespectful. They sought religious exemptions that you wouldn't grant.
Yeah, he deserves no more clemency than he gave out to the service members he forced out of the military. He's unfit to lead. I mean, the mistake that he made, he came out even before he testified yesterday. He came out, a month ago and was begging for forgiveness and trying to explain himself as a black man with prostate cancer. He threw in race on that because he said, what I think 8 and I don't know that the number's higher for African American males to have prostate cancer than a white man. And
well, what does that have to do with any disclosure? It has nothing to do with it. But the point is to say again, just like Gates said, willing to personal, private. I get the disposition. You don't want to talk about it to too many people. Totally understand that. Respect that. But then you won't pay that forward. You won't pay that forward because you don't have to. And that's the imperious attitude of the ruling class in D.C. and in Illinois and in Chicago and in every big city in the country. And of the left in general. Wherever you'll find the left in charge, you're going to find the attitude exhibited by Lloyd Austin.
And no wonder our military has fallen with recruitment.
Yeah, but no wonder there is a revolt that is still bubbling just below the surface. Maybe not just below the surface, too. I mean, it's just, at a certain point, the High Court in Canada rules that what Justin Trudeau did was a violation of the Freedom Truckers' rights there, with going after freezing bank accounts and the like. That was a violation. And so who pays a penalty? Justin Trudeau? Those Canadian legislators who went along with it? No. So where's the making whole the victim of a wrong-headed, illegal official act? Nope. People are sick of it, and they should be. And I'm sick of people like Lloyd Austin, and I should be. And so should those 8,600 who got vax mandated out of the military, and so should every other man and woman in the military and under his charge at the Pentagon. Just another example.
And another reason to vote for Trump.
Lee in Hammond, Indiana.
Yeah, Dan, you stole my thunder. This is the deep state. This is what they do, and it's not just in this country. It's all the Western world. And the reason they get away with it is because the media is their lapdogs and goes right along with whatever the latest scam is. And
no. Yeah, I mean, yes, but no. Not because, I mean, the media does. The media is their comp shop. Thanks for calling. No, it's because there's no accountability demanded from the people. What sort of accountability is demanded? What sort of punishment does the electorate impose on people who behave like this? So the media does this. It's another institution that's covering the ass of another institution. Yeah, I know. And what's the punishment? What's the punishment for John Brennan? What's the punishment for Jim Clapper? Jim Clapper lied under oath. Yeah. What's the punishment for Jim Comey? Jim Comey lied under oath. Not to mention what we know from Schellenberger reporting and Taibbi. They cooked up the whole Russian collusion, if you're to believe their reporting. I mean, if that is accurate. And if they didn't cook it up, if it wasn't all orchestrated by them from the get-go, then it certainly was exploited by them after it got going, despite the fact that very early on they knew there was nothing to it.
Right. And then they leaked what they allegedly had to the media.
And so who is held accountable in the midterm election in 2020 and then in 2022? Oh, it's the media did it. Well, if that's what you want to go with, if you want to say, oh, it's just the media and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, if there's nothing we can do about it, then we're in a lot worse place than I even thought. There is something, of course, that can be done about it, but it's not being done. People aren't activating their neighbors the way they could, the way that Kamala Harris is activating with your money college students to go register. Well, who knows? And, who knows what else is going on with respect to getting people in this country illegally on the voter rolls through other federal agencies like Homeland Security, since there's direct interaction there. And it is all over the Western world, which is why the West is faltering, which is why China sees an opportunity. What we talked about yesterday with Peter Schweitzer, the disintegration strategy. China sitting back and moving a few chess pieces around and watching us do the rest to checkmate ourselves. Pierre Poilievre is the opposition candidate to Justin Trudeau, right? Heard from him before. He likes to eat apples while he talks to the press. He's good. He's funny, conservative, and he's sharp. Listen to this press conference he had where he revealed a cover-up that is on par with what we know Fauci and Collins and CDC and NIH were up to, not to mention, the whole sort of Beltway political establishment in running interference for their Chi-Com associates, in sidelining anybody with uncomfortable questions or differing opinions, professional opinions. So their top public health officials in Canada were in bed with the Chi-Coms just like ours.
Fauci lied under oath, too.
But now we know that he cannot protect our people or our country. We just received these documents that Trudeau has been covering up for years. Documents related to a massive security breach at the Trudeau government's most sensitive laboratory, where the most dangerous viruses and pathogens are studied and handled. We have learned that the Trudeau government's head of pathogens was collaborating with members of Beijing's People's Liberation Army who are responsible for bioweapons and bioterrorism. We know now that a People's Liberation Army official was able to gain personal access, walk in the door, look at computers, and have access to all of our most important virological secrets. If you think any of this is hyperbole, read the report yourself. This is from government documents, the Trudeau government's own documents. It says here on page 142, Winnipeg Lab scientist Dr. Chu is head of the Special Pathogens Unit, the top person in that job. According to documents on page 242, quote, represents a serious and credible danger to the government of Canada as a whole, and in particular at facilities considered high security due to the potential for theft of dangerous materials attractive to terrorists and foreign entities that conduct espionage to infiltrate and damage the economic security of Canada, end quote. It states further on page 239, investigators assess that Dr. Chu communicated with foreign entities during her trips to China. The evidence obtained from interviews and from information collected from the electronic content of her devices reveal that this is indeed the case. As a subject matter expert with access to sensitive information and dangerous materials, Dr. Chu presents a realistic and credible threat to Canada's economic security when conducting repeated and clandestine meetings with foreign entities, end quote. Then it says Dr. Chu conducted joint research with the Major General Chen Wei of the People's Liberation Army, who, according to page 236, is a noted top virologist at the Academy of Military Medical Sciences and is China's chief biological defense expert engaged in research related to biosafety, biodefense, and bioterrorism. Bioterrorism, end quote. And these are documents, this is right out of the government's own documents. Trudeau, what did he do when he found out about this? Did he immediately inform Canadians of the breach? Did he fire anybody? No, no one was fired. Did he call an inquiry to get to the bottom of it? No, he didn't do that either. Instead, he covered it all up. He defied 4 parliamentary orders to release these documents.
Sound familiar? I mean, the story from Nicholas Wade, former science editor at the New York Times. We've talked about a couple of times now, and I did a podcast, my counterculture podcast with him last week. It's the same deal. It's the same deal here. There was an effort to get a DARPA grant to do experimentation with novel coronaviruses that was a joint project of the Wuhan Virology Lab, that Zengeli doctor, Dr. Shi Zengeli, and Fauci World here. and DARPA didn't fund it. So the reasonable belief is that the Wuhan folks went out and did it on their own. And then Fauci and Collins ran interference for them. Why? Because they're collaborators. And they don't see borders, and they don't see national interests. In the light most favorable to them, it's just about the science, and we don't want anything that would disrupt the science. The light most favorable to them. And we don't want to do anything that would... or have anything exposed in terms of relationships or gain-of-function research done and desired that would jeopardize funding and turn this into a political football so we cover each other's backsides. That's the light most favorable to them. And again, just as Polyev is saying about, was there disclosure on that? No, there was covering it up. There was trying to destroy the reputations of anybody who asked questions, much less openly disagreed with any of the proposed mitigations or the characterization of what we knew or didn't know. Did anybody get fired? No. Retired with handsome pensions? Sure, yeah. Disciplined? Any agency reforms afoot? No. Jordan in Antioch, you're in Chicago. Good morning, answer.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. It just dawned on me, we're going through this whole thing, talking about this, and then tying it to this BS immunity case that they're trying to get Trump on. I know why, but I think I have an idea why, but wouldn't it be nice to see some of these Republican state attorneys in Florida, in Georgia, in Texas, in Ohio, in all these other states automatically in 1 week dump charges of malfeasance, documentation, falsifying documents, and everything else against the Democrats that are in office right now, that they have actual proof of illegality while in office, bring charges against them in lieu prior to any verdict or trial that Trump goes through, and point out the fact that says, hey, you know what you're doing to him up there? Guess what? You find him guilty and you say that he doesn't have immunity while in office to do the things that you accuse him of doing. Guess what? We got all this waiting for you. Why do we not do that?
Well, because, thanks for the call, Jordan. Why do we not do that? Well, one is you need jurisdiction. Number two is, so you're talking about Republican states attorneys or even U.S. attorneys. You need jurisdiction, number one. Number two, do we really want to say, since you're doing the LaVentre Beria, show me the man and I'll find you the crime, then we're going to do the same thing? You really want that to be the default position of both parties and our justice system? Give me the target and I'll find the crime. That's not how it's supposed to work. That's not how it can work if you want a free society. I'm not saying you take a pass on somebody that was within your jurisdiction and who broke the law because he's a Democrat. Quite the opposite. But you can't take the position that they've taken. That this is one of those situations where we could be them, they couldn't be us, and we should guard that difference jealously. Mark, Northwest Side.
Well, Dan, you're touching on it, and I think George did as well. My biggest frustration, I think a large part of the frustration in the general populace is whether it be a bureaucrat, a politician, a federal agent, what have you. They can get away with this stuff. They leave with their pensions, their freedom, they're financially intact. And they walk away and they laugh at us. And that's my biggest point. I'm so disheartened that there's no accountability held on a personal level for what they're doing to this country.
I agree 100%. Thanks for the call, Mark. Coming up at 8:08, we'll continue this conversation about holding those to account, in power to account, and particularly as it relates to COVID, and not forgetting, lest giving them the opportunity to rewrite. Billy McMorris, academic director for the National Journalism Center, joins us at 8:08.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, no suspects ID'd after a violent Northwest Side crime spree. Felons linked to a disgraced Chicago detective are appealing their convictions. An anti-Semitic poster linked to a white supremacist group has been found in Chicago's Bucktown neighborhood. Blackhawks get blanked by the Avs. Bulls host the Bucks. Cubs get edged by the Rockies. The White Sox sweep a split doubleheader. And WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
Paying their last respects under threat in Russia. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Bells tolled at a church in Moscow for Alexei Navalny at his funeral 2 weeks after the opposition leader died. His widow claims Russian leader Vladimir Putin had him killed. Navalny's just been buried at a cemetery after thousands of mourners paid tribute, even chanting his name.
Saying you were not afraid and we are not afraid. We also heard no to war and we will never forget. This massive crowd congregated behind police barriers, which had been set up earlier this week, and there had been heightened concern that people coming to mourn the opposition leader would be arrested, something that has happened to hundreds of people at memorials for the 47-year-old in the last 2 weeks.
Fox's Alex Hogan. There's a funeral later today in Georgia for the nursing student attacked last week while jogging in Athens. Her accused killers in the U.S. illegally jailed on a murder charge.
Joe Biden will never say Laken Riley's name, but we will say it and we will remember it. We're not going to forget her.
Former President Trump was in Eagle Pass, Texas, telling Fox's Sean Hannity.
This border makes 2016 look like baby stuff. It's probably the worst border, not probably, it's the worst border ever in the history of the world.
Blaming Biden border policies for record illegal immigration. But the president at the border in Brownsville, Texas, urged his potential 2024 rematch rival to join him, supporting a border security bill Republicans blocked.
Need more agents, more officers, more judges, more equipment in order to secure our border. Folks, it's time for us to move on this. We can't wait any longer.
At a court hearing in Florida today, a federal judge could reset the trial date in the Trump classified documents criminal case, likely pushed back from May till the summer. In Georgia, a judge in the state's 2020 election interference case will hear closing arguments considering whether to remove the DA, Fani Willis, from the case over allegations her romantic relationship with the special prosecutor she hired as a conflict of interest. America's listening to Fox News.
8:02 is our time on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police and fire report that a man was hospitalized after a blaze in an apartment building on the west side Thursday night. Police now say 20 people, including 5 children, are displaced in that case. The murder trial of Chicago police officer Ella French continued. More body cam footage shown in court Thursday. Evidence techs and other officers also discussed the weapon 23-year-old Demonte Morgan used to shoot Officer French and critically wound her partner. Meantime, the Chicago FOP is pushing to make changes to how the pension board operates. The FOP saying officers hurt on the job are too often put on no pay status for months, sometimes years, before appeals courts hear their case.
This is a real shame because our officers are out there every single day working to protect us in the city of Chicago, and this pension board is turning their backs on them. That's not right.
Alderwoman Savannah Tabarra, several have been put on no pay status after 1 year of disability benefits and burning through vacation comp and other sick time. The FOP is pushing legislation in Springfield and trying to work with the city council to have more representation on the pension board so officers who get injured on the job get their promised benefits. Blackhawks blanked 5-0 last night, losing to Colorado. Bulls host the Bucks at the UC tonight. Weekend college hoops. Number 16 Fighting Illini will visit Wisconsin. The Northwestern Wildcats will host Iowa. The news, a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or 855-563-2843. Lower.com, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061. 8:04 time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Neil Cavuto, and this is the Fox Business Report.
New York Community Bank says it has found accounting issues and other problems with its financial reporting. The bank's stock is sliding again, down 29%. It also just had a management shakeup, including a new CEO. Elon Musk claims artificial intelligence startup OpenAI has been turned into a de facto subsidiary of Microsoft. Musk is suing OpenAI and its management, accusing them of breaching its founding agreement by putting profit ahead of benefiting humanity. Walt Disney's descendants and those of his late brother Roy are backing CEO Bob Iger in the company's fight against investor Nelson Peltz. Their letters say Disney is not a company that makes widgets, it makes magic. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk sees more looking down on the voters.
Tom Tillis, our base cannot possibly know what's at stake at the level that any well-briefed U.S. senator should know about what's at stake if Putin wins. You guys are just too stupid, is what Tom Tillis is saying. You know, all of you that send emails and make phone calls, that pay your taxes, just stop trying.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Over $6 billion in tax refunds were flagged by the IRS for possible identity theft in 2023. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. Their U.S.-based restoration specialists are dedicated to helping solve identity theft issues, and all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, which means if you lose money because of identity theft, LifeLock will reimburse you to the limits of your plan. Go to LifeLock.com and save up to 25% your first year with promo code CLAY.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm 76. I feel great with it, and I won't stop ever taking it.
I'm 67, and I'm pretty active. I go out in the fields and work, and I noticed the difference. I take it in the morning, but I've been taking it, religiously. My body seems to like it.
If it wasn't good, I wouldn't be doing it for 23 years. So it works good.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like climbing a mountain, but that mountain is also covered in banana peels. Then when something new gets added to your list, you're like, nope, I'm already climbing this huge super slippery banana peel mountain of a to-do list. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to manage your policy on our mobile app, so climbing that banana peel mountain feels more like a leisurely stroll. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Well, switch to Pure Talk today and you'll get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. Now, qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and, of course, mobile hotspot. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk, claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone. Start saving on wireless today and switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk.
8:09, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on the Kennedy where it's 35 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson, an earlier accident causing big delays. Harlem to Kedzie this morning. Dan Ryan outbound, accident left lane block. Car and a truck tangled between 59th and the Skyway causes some big delays outbound to 95th. Reagan Memorial, I-88 eastbound. You'll hit the brakes right at Roosevelt, Libertyville, Butterfield Road, from Crane to Route 176, entirely shut down with an accident and cleanup. And in Warrenville, reported an accident at Warrenville Road east of Winfield Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some sun to get going this morning, then increasing cloudiness. The high today at 48. Clear tonight, chilly, low 35. Sunny day tomorrow, the high at 62. Sunny clouds, a breezy warm day on Sunday, the high at 70. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 31 and partly cloudy at O'Hare, 32 at Midway, 27 in Aurora, and your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Building off our conversation at the end of last hour about the Matt Gaetz Lloyd Austin exchange yesterday on forgiveness. Lloyd Austin has done and will not reconsider reinstating the 8,600 military men and women that he vax mandated out of the service. And also our friend Pierre Poilievre, in Canada, who presented this documentation of top pathogen public health official in Canada collaborating with Chinese communists, including not just in like the Wuhan virology lab, not just with their scientists, but as with a military commander in the People's Liberation Army, who's their point person for bioweapons. I mean, the West just doing China's bidding for, without prompting. For more on this sort of commitment we have to continuing to remind people what happened during the height of COVID and keep you abreast of what is happening as the revisionism is fully afoot from those who were the shot callers, pun intended. Pleased to be joined by F. Billy McMorris, who's academic director of the National Journalism Center and a contributing editor for The Spectator. Billy McMorris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dan and Amy.
So you wrote a piece for The Spectator that presents yet another example of what we're talking about and what needs to be recalled, what needs to be part of our institutional memory before it's erased from the permanent record. Tell us about September 2020 and this moment where the policy response at the federal level to COVID could have changed for the better, but didn't.
So the White House Coronavirus Task Force wanted to, in keeping with Donald Trump's vision for opening up the country, wanted to target testing for nursing homes for vulnerable populations and stop the kind of mass hysteria that was being used to justify lockdowns. And you could see Trump again and again taking to social media to say, hey, let's reopen the economy. And again, his own cabinet officials and his own appointees, as well as the establishment control of federal health agencies, undermined him. He would tweet one thing, and then Dr. Fauci would come out and reignite panic and provide cover for people like J.B. Pritzker and Gretchen Whitmer to continue to lock down the economy. And that's something that a lot of these governors and a lot of these public health officials who have been championing the idea of a COVID amnesty, please forgive us our mistakes, we didn't know anything, they're now trying to scrub the record, and they're trying to say, no, we didn't shut down. It was totally. You have Randy Weingarten from the teachers union, who is on record scaremongering. You saw the Chicago teachers strike when they tried to bring kids back into the classroom. She's now trying to gaslight everybody, for, if I may use an overused word, to pretend that she was on the front lines of reopening.
Oh, my God.
And we see people taking advantage of a spirit of charity and instead leveraging it to make everybody forget exactly what they did. And it's obvious why. You see learning loss. You see the suffering that children underwent. You saw cancer patients skipping cancer treatments. And everybody wants you to forget that this is what they did.
Right, and but like moments like this, like August 2020, which you write about in The Spectator, it's these inflection points that we can remember if we're reminded. August 2020, there was this conversation. So 6 months into it all, it could have gone so differently for so many people. So many people who ended up being fired from their jobs or dismissed from the military could have gone so different. And Fauci, per your accounting, was aware of this, was aware of the policy change that was afoot that you were just describing in terms of focused testing on areas of high incidence with vulnerable populations like in nursing homes, is the stuff that we forget we knew as early as the late summer into the early fall of 2020. And he pretended he didn't know because he was having a medical procedure himself. And so I was... I was incapacitated because I was having this medical procedure, so I had no idea that this was being rolled out. He said this on CNN. So then he's going, wait a second, they didn't tell Fauci, or Fauci, they're end running Fauci and so on and so forth. But that was all disingenuous at best.
I don't casually accuse somebody of lying, but it seems awful convenient that Dr. Fauci would pretend he was caught completely unawares by this, and of course turn to CNN to leak that information. But even Fauci today is you hear about what's coming out of the House committee investigation into COVID. There's 100 different instances in which he is pleading ignorance, and I find that remarkable to believe that this man who is so proud of his record was speaking, barnstorming the country, taking to the airwaves, being named a Time Man of the Year, is now pretending that he had no recollection of any of these things that led to him becoming a worldwide celebrity.
Well, what about Dr. Birx? I mean, I love when you wrote that she's famous for wearing scarves and touring the country, but she came up with that arbitrary closing times for bars and restaurants, and what science and data did she have to make those decisions?
So thankfully we have Scott Alice's memoir from his time serving on the coronavirus task force, because he recounts countless meetings where it was very clear that Dr. Birx had not read any of the scientific literature that she was using to justify the lockdown, that their methodology was laughable at best, but she had her own agenda. She championed that agenda back then, and she's one of the people who is still panicking about COVID today. After everything that has come out, she's very committed. She was taking to the airwaves, I think it was NBC, back in August 2023, saying, the deadliest COVID wave is going to come back. Make sure you're mask your children, mask your wife. I may be paraphrasing a little bit.
Yeah, right. But, and the testimony from Fauci too, the 6 feet apart, that just sort of appeared out of nowhere. Oh, really? Something just appeared out of nowhere, and you decided to make it formal policy and wash your hands, cover your mouths, put on your mask, stand 6 feet, stand in your idiot circle, and so on and so forth. Rinse and repeat. Literally and figuratively, but it just appeared from off stage left or something. I mean, all this stuff is just preposterous, and yet again, you have this frustration in the body politic, at least some of it, that it just seems like nobody's even paying attention, much less is there any prospect of accountability.
Well, this is one interesting aspect of how the COVID revisionism has been occurring in America. Is we saw hardcore lockdown regimes in Great Britain and New Zealand and Australia. You saw a public backlash to their COVID handling, but many of the lockdown governors have paid zero political price. In the midterms, we saw some of these champions for panic come out and win in landslides. So it seems like there is a certain renaissance among the voting public, particularly in blue states, to just, for lack of a better word, wash their hands of this.
Right, to hold because
we did what we did.
Yeah, right, because to hold them accountable would be holding themselves accountable.
Exactly. And this is one of the interesting aspects about the DeSantis campaign run is, you saw a man who wanted to make COVID handling and COVID accountability a centerpiece of his presidential run. And President Trump, of course, started defending Newsom's actions. And
it's
talking
ridiculous.
About his great relationship with Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, DeSantis put in place the policies that Trump was only tweeting about. And I think Trump would be in the right to make the Democratic handling of lockdowns a centerpiece of his 2024 campaign. But I think he might have hamstrung himself a little bit in an effort to win the primary.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good observation. Something else that he could do, though, which he will never do, and we said this during the run-up to the primary, which is he should exercise the rarest of all character traits, some humility, and say, I was wrong about that. I should have been more aggressive. I should have either sidelined Fauci and Birx, or I should have added people like Scott Atlas and others earlier to provide a wider breadth of expert opinion on this. There's things I could have done differently. But one of the things he could do now, because this sort of perplexes me too and frustrates me, especially with, I know there's online groups of the vaccine injured. One of the things he could do now is say, look, we're going to figure out a way to compensate the vaccine injured, because this was, even though the Supreme Court overturned that OSHA gambit by the Biden administration, this was about as close to a federal mandate to get vaxxed as possible without it actually being a mandate. All the pressure socially, professionally to get vaxxed. And for those who didn't want to, and they did it, and they didn't need to, or they shouldn't have, or they got injured, we have to do something to make this right, all the things that we did wrong. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's really doing any deep dive into giving the American public a real handle on the number of vaccine injured and the sort of the character of these injuries. And I think Trump and Republicans, and including on that select COVID committee, would do themselves well to figure out a way to provide a little bit of justice there.
Well, that is one thing about Biden's handling, is he didn't just vax out American heroes from the military. He didn't just purge the ranks of seasoned combat veterans. He tried to weaponize your company's HR departments, your school districts, COVID panic, in order to vaccinate perfectly healthy children that we knew, not just at the end of the COVID panic, that we were aware within the first 2 months of this worldwide scourge, we knew that this didn't hurt children. And that is a failure that nobody has paid a price for.
Billy McMorris, academic director for the National Journalism Center, contributing editor for The Spectator as well. Billy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dan and Amy.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Success. It's discipline, it's teamwork, it's the drive and confidence and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best of each of us made better by the best in all of us. It's what Stifel has been doing for over 130 years. And it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management and investment banking firms in the industry. Stifel, where success meets success. Find a financial advisor at stifel.com. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hi, it's Amy Jacobson here for Willows Academy, an authentically Catholic, all-girls school that supports traditional values, where graduates attend some of the best colleges in the country, and last year's graduating class, get this, received more than $8 million in scholarship offers, real money. So for nearly 50 years, they've partnered with families in the Chicagoland area to educate young women who will change the world. Willows Academy is open for girls in 6th through 12th grade. I went to their campus. It's beautiful. It's clean. It's well run. The girls look happy. Small class sizes. The teachers are amazing. But check it out for yourself. They are having an open house this Sunday, March 3rd at 1 p.m. Willows Academy open house this Sunday, March 3rd at 1 p.m. Register online at willowsacademy.org, willowsacademy.org.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Susan Hathaway Altman, a conservative leader running for Congress in the 11th District. I have the heart to fight for you and in America where citizens are first and individual rights and freedoms are upheld. My common sense, practical approach comes from 30 years as a prominent corporate business leader. And as a catalyst for Congress to work together, I'll tackle inflation, border crisis, safety issues, academic excellence, and more. Go to SusanForCongress.com. Early voting open now. I'm Susan Hathaway Altman, and I approve this message. Paid for by the Susan for Congress Committee.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Yes, it's that time of the week. Open Mic Friday. Taking your calls. 312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. Comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. It's sponsored by Turnkey.pro. And we begin, as always, with Turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak.
Good morning, Dan and Amy.
Morning.
I'm glad to see that you're back, Dan. You have a good week?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
His 2 days off. I mean, I missed him
Happy
so
to be
much, but
back.
I can't miss
Yes.
him if he doesn't leave. So
It's true. Yes, there's only so much golf I can play. Yes.
Well, so where to begin today? It seems to me that ever since I was a kid, I can always remember there was a bad guy. You know, in the 40s it was Hitler. Then we pivoted to Soviet Union in the Cold War. I'm sure you wouldn't classify any of their leaders as bad guys. Stalin, Malenkov, Khrushchev, Gorbachev, and then we went to the Soviet Union as it was dissolved and Russia rose. We had Yeltsin and now Putin. These people were never touted as anything but bad guys. So it makes sense to me, you know, to unify people against a common enemy. It's a pattern and it's interesting. Some more bad guys: Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, Kim Jong-un, Fidel Castro, Ayatollah Khomeini, Ho Chi Minh, and Muammar Gaddafi. You know, I admit I didn't like any of those guys. I still don't, and I believe everything that the media told me about them. You know, come to think of it, when I was in high school, I think they doubled down on, you know, kind of the information, but that's a topic for another time. Anyway, the truth is that the mainstream media has done a really lot. It has a lot to do with our perceptions of world leaders as they paint a picture to one. So, you know, they've done a great job through the years influencing people to believe whatever story they're telling. We need bad guys to be good guys, right? So I remember vividly after 9/11, I think everybody feels this way, how angry I was. I even thought about, you know, enlisting in the Army. I was like 33 at the time, and I was like, I'm going to go get them, you know. So
Right.
the media was on TV, and we were all glued to our TVs, and I bought that whole story hook, line, and sinker, and anybody who didn't believe that narrative, you know, was delusional or just plain nuts. It was a spectacular plan, and it worked for a long time. But the problem is that the mainstream media is failing, and their stranglehold over the people is over. You can see this by all the layoffs. I mean, you look at Vice, Washington Post, Fox, LA Times, Sports Illustrated, Time, Business Insider, Wall Street Journal, and the list goes on. CBS even fired Catherine Herridge and confiscated all of her notes and sources. Now, I'm not sure if that's related to a failing news organization or rather a firing of a reporter who was actually doing her job.
How about NPR in Chicago? How about NPR in Chicago?
Yeah.
NPR in Chicago just cut local programming down to an hour a day. Even with state subsidies, they can't get people to tune in. I guess. No, of course not. Why do they need to be subsidized? Yeah, right.
But the point is that people aren't watching or buying any of the news that they once trusted.
Good.
People are seeing that they can't trust them because all their narratives have been proven false. If you look at like 2016 through 2019, it was Russia collusion. It turns out that they made the whole thing up and they used it to justify obstructing Trump's presidency. But there's no apologies. Let's go have lunch, right? So 2019 through 2022, it was COVID-19 and vaccines. They lied to us about the man-made origins, the masks, the efficacy, the safety of the vaccines. I mean, Dr. Birx, you were just talking about her. And then they used it to steal an election and justify installing a global biomedical police state. What's worse is that it's all coming out now that the excess deaths are not from COVID-19, but rather from the vaccines themselves. And in the end, another busted narrative to a grave level of concern for those who believed them and took the vaccine. So 2022 until now, it's been all Ukraine. They lied to us about the CIA State Department color revolution in 2014, the status of the war, the widespread Nazism, corruption, U.S.-funded biolabs and training intelligence bases. They used it to launder hundreds of billions with a B, of taxpayer money while sacrificing hundreds of thousands of life. In any case, if you didn't hear, the mainstream media is now admitting that the Ukraine is the CIA proxy, an article that actually appeared in the New York Times, not exactly a conservative news outlet. It's a complete flip-flop of, say, the old headline in the New York Times was, Russia's unfounded claims of secret U.S. biolabs linger on, and now it reads, the spy war, how the CIA secretly helps Ukraine fight Putin. The CIA partnership in Ukraine goes way back to 2014 when regime change occurred in Ukraine with our help, or quite possibly our insistence. But what this means is that Putin's invasion of Ukraine was not unprovoked, and that the U.S. are the expansionists overthrowing sovereign nations for geopolitical gain, not them. In other words, the U.S. brought the war to Putin's doorstep, meaning that every single thing that the Western media told you about Ukraine was based on a lie. All the analysts that you hear on the pompous mainstream media talking heads was based on the presumption that Putin did this unprovoked just because he's literally Hitler, or in this context, he's a bad guy. But it turns out Putin's accusations of Western intelligence controlling Ukraine were correct. Therefore, his attack is more than justified. Just imagine if Russia had funded.
I disagree with that. I disagree. Go ahead. You can finish your point. But that even if your premise is correct and there are some issues with it, I completely disagree with the conclusion that it justifies his invasion of a sovereign nation. Sorry, that doesn't wash. But go ahead.
Imagine if Russia had if Russia funded Nazi militias in Canada, started a civil war in Canada, overthrew the Canadian government, then installed a puppet regime, and then they put intelligent bases and biolabs over our northern border. Every American would be calling to flatten Canada and Russia. That's exactly what the U.S. did to Russia, and they're pissed for good reason. I mean, Russia tried to join NATO, and they were denied. Russia tried to negotiate nonviolent means to negotiate and resolve the conflict. They were denied. Russia tried to present their grievances to U.S. bioweapons and production and espionage to the UN. They were denied. Russia tried to do the diplomatic thing.
Yeah, you're just. I watched the Tucker Carlson Putin interview too, so I don't need Putin's answers repeated to me. I know what they are. Unfortunately, they don't square with the facts, and that does not justify. I'm sorry. First of all, I don't agree with the analogy. It is not a perfect analogy. It assumes all sorts of things that are very much in doubt. And secondly, it still does not justify, meddling in other nations, which I don't necessarily support, but it's done by Russian intelligence as well as U.S. intelligence as well as Chinese intelligence. It does not justify an invasion of a sovereign nation. I'm sorry. That is just a leap. That is a logical leap with no underlying foundation. But go ahead.
Okay, but go ahead. Everything you just said is completely wrong, but go ahead. Bottom line is we're going to disagree on a lot of stuff, but are there biolabs in Ukraine? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, yes, there are biolabs in Ukraine. I mean, you've got to provide the evidentiary support in terms of funding. Would I be surprised if there was American money that made its way to those biolabs? No, I wouldn't. But, again, I like claims of that sort to be substantiated.
Well, I mean, I believe one of our secretaries of defense or somebody in that department said it in Congress. They said, we have biolabs there. They admitted to it. So it's not like it's not like it's a secret. And so you have that, and then you have this clandestine operation in 2014, a color revolution there, where we changed their regime and put Zelensky in. I mean, we meddle in people's business all the time.
I understand.
And the bottom line is,
I conceded that point. It doesn't justify invading. It doesn't justify, and we shouldn't idly sit by while a clear enemy of America and liberty in general, an autocrat like Putin, invades a sovereign nation. It doesn't justify our meddling. I'm not saying I support our meddling. I'm conceding that we do meddle, but you're jumping to saying, well, that justifies what Putin did, and no, it doesn't.
Well,
But
the premise of it being unprovoked is really the premise I'm arguing. But anyway, the West went out of their way to censor anybody independent that was trying to tell the true story from day one about these bioweapons and about these military camps and whatnot. And we basically we did some bad stuff. But if the public knew the detail the entire time that this was not unprovoked, they wouldn't have supported sending our tax dollars there. So now here we are. And once the tax dollars arrive, who knows where the money goes? There's just no accountability. And Bitcoin is at an all-time high, so maybe there's some of it in there. But it's going to be a tough pill to swallow for many Americans. But Russia's not really the bad guy in this scenario. The West is really the bad guy, and it's not even close, in my opinion. But anyway, it's amazing how they unite against us with bad guys, but divide us in every other way. The sooner that we recognize it, the better we can clean it up. And as Roy Schneider famously said in the movie Jaws, we're going to need a bigger boat.
All right,
anyway,
David.
Cheers.
Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
week.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. There's a lot there, and I don't want to take up the entire time on this, but I mean, there are academics like John Mearsheimer, who we've discussed before and presented his arguments, that that make something on the order of the argument that David is making about the antagonism, sort of the NATO antagonism that made a jumpy Putin even more jumpy, and so on and so forth. And so there's some, in terms of like, do we make the best geopolitical decisions? Not just we, the United States, but did NATO, and so on and so forth. Well, I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot of what Putin witnessed, including our Afghanistan withdrawal, that may have incentivized things as well. So the lack of competence, the strategic decisions we made, the strategic decisions the West made, our response after he invaded and took over Crimea. But to say that Putin is not the bad guy, the West is the bad guy, is to be wrong, number one, and to vastly oversimplify it and to paper over who Putin is. I don't know why we spend, any conservative would spend a moment running a recasting effort for a KGB autocrat. Putin is a legacy of the former Soviet Union, a totalitarian society. He is a totalitarian by his nature. There are, I mean, innumerable examples of it. Dissidents imprisoned, like the one who just died. I mean, for God's sakes, we've got a Wall Street Journal reporter there, Gerskovich, who shouldn't be in prison there. So let's not lose our minds here, as I've had to say before, with some of this stuff as it pertains to Ukraine and Russia. It doesn't justify every decision we made. It doesn't mean that we don't have some bad actors, that we made some bad decisions, that it doesn't justify writing blank checks to Ukraine without accountability as the money sloshes around and setting up a virtual PPP program there. All that's right. So there's lots of variables and lots of room for constructive criticism. But to synthesize it all down to the West is the bad guy here, even though we were told Putin is the bad guy. No way. No way. Come on. Okay. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. I got a question about reporters, even good ones like Brett Baer, who I really like. It was like they never asked like an obvious follow-up question. Like last Saturday, he was interviewing Nikki Haley before the South Carolina primary, and she said 70% of the American people do not want Trump or Biden as president. They're the two most hated politicians in the country. And she follows it up with, and that's the fact. I instantly thought, well, if that's a fact, how come you haven't won any primaries yet? You lost to none of the above. It looks like you're going to get trounced in your home state. And in the same interview, she says, even if I lose, I want to give the American people a choice. I instantly thought, They made their choice, and it's not you. Why do you not respect their choice?
Yeah, I get it. Thanks for the call, Rick. I mean, right. This is, Nikki Haley's, this is Yogi Berra saying, I don't, I don't go to that, what's the Yogi Berra-ism? That restaurants, I can't get into the restaurant, it's too crowded, nobody goes there anymore. Something like that, right? I mean, it's just sort of the same thing. Is nobody wants Biden and Trump, and yet Biden and Trump are winning primaries, and they're going to be the nominees. So, I mean, nobody wants what they're voting for. Nobody wants to go to nobody goes to a restaurant that's too crowded to get into. Right, got it. Dawn in Naperville.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to give a real-life example of COVID closure accountability by the people. It was 3 years ago, several families in Oakland and LA, specifically parents of Black and Hispanic students, were represented by the Public Council and other organizations. They sued the state of California, and the state of California settled last month for $2 billion. The interesting thing about the case is that it wasn't just aiming at regrouping educational loss for these students, but also was talking about how the area of discrepancy gap for Black and Latino communities. The problem is these funds are not going to go directly to the families. It's going to go what was already earmarked for learning loss. But, what's interesting to me is, we're talking about equity and equality. And here, what is the result of the equity and equality in our school system? How are people supposed to have a career open to the talent, as Martin Friedman once spoke about, if you can't read or do basic math? It just doesn't make any sense. And to me, it's a product of the injustice because we don't have wisdom and discretion. And it seems like our own school system pick and choose who they want to be successful. And it's not the poor. It certainly isn't kids with disabilities. Otherwise, we wouldn't have civil rights to protect these individuals. So I would recommend everybody. President Reagan gave a beautiful speech. It was at a prayer breakfast in Texas in August 23rd of 1984. And that is where he said, if we ever forget that we're a nation under God, we were going to be a nation gone under. And you've got to be a fool to see that what's going on around us, the chaos around us, that is what's happening to us. So I hope we have some leaders that address that.
Thanks for the call, Dawn. The Prime Minister of England, who goes by Kevin and lives in Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
I mean, Ireland.
Ireland.
Ireland. You said England.
Oh, Ireland. I'm sorry. Yeah.
A rare mistake by Mr. Prof.
Okay,
And he'll lament about it all weekend long.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
So,
Prime Minister.
the governor is shocked. First gambling in Casablanca, and now that Google Gemini, artificial intelligence, caught generating, can you believe it, racist fake history. Gaby Lizzo quizzed the computer. What's white on top and black on the bottom? And AI replied, society. AI told the governor... back when your man Jefferson Davis was in high school, he was voted most likely to succeed.
Hi-oh.
Yet AI refuses to generate white, crafting portraits of a black Amadeus Mozart in hoodie. He puts the gang in Wolfgang. AI presented him breakdancing while he composed the hip-hop. Racially diverse founding fathers. Minnesota Vikings, even female popes, all portrayed caught in the act spray painting graffiti. The governor believes AI could have dire consequences. Rewriting history to insert blacks in leadership roles could foil JB's plan to redistribute conservatives' life savings. Ergo, fake AI history could derail paying trillions to supporters via reparations. And I thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. All right. Oh, boy. Matt, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. I wanted to just make a suggestion that I think bowling may be the perfect sport for men, women, and transgenders. I was at the bowling alley a couple of weeks ago. I saw a sign-up sheet, a league sign-up sheet. It was for men, women, and seniors, and then they had the mixed league. So I think we should just have mixed leagues for everybody. And then I did see a sign on one of the doors that said, no pets allowed. Now, I think if the bowling alley wants to be really safe, they should get rid of that sign because they're going to have one or two people who identify as cats come in, and we'll just put litter boxes in all the bathrooms. And that'll make everybody feel welcome and included in their safe space.
Thanks for the call, Matt. It's Rich today, boy. Tom in Blue Island.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, Lakin Riley. Earlier this week, you mentioned Kate Steinle. That was 2015. Her image is still seared on my brain. Beautiful young women, American women, killed by these subhuman, I don't even know what to call them, scumbags. Absolute scumbags. And to anyone that's raised a daughter, MK mentioned her daughter the other day, they're your whole life. And when one of these girls are killed by these animals, which isn't even appropriate, it makes you feel like as a man, you let them down. I wish I could have been there for that bullet that hit Kate Steinle to hit me, or I wish I could have been walking where Lakin Riley was, right as that jag was about to attack, and have them have a go with me. And it makes me feel like we've let women down, and the women of this country, and it feels like you take a chip out of what's truly American, a beautiful young woman with her whole life in front of her, and it's devastating. And Biden can make as many trips to Texas as he wants, and that woman who's the communications director, solely because she's a lesbian, can say it's a big deal as much as she wants. But that's not going to change how American men feel about it. It's as devastating a tragedy as there can be.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And I want to say something about that, too, because today she's being laid to rest. Today's her funeral. And please don't let the mainstream media take the focus off of who's to blame. Yesterday, people were tweeting out that, there's evidence that she was trying to call 911, and they were blaming police, that no authorities traced the call to find her. Don't let them change the narrative. And then the day before, they were saying, he acted the way he did because she fought back. Keep fighting back. Don't victim shame her. This is not her fault. This is not the police officer's fault. This is the Biden administration's fault because they let him in, and this is New York's fault because then after he assaulted a child, he still wasn't deported. So don't let them do that, please.
Yeah, and remember the comments you heard from those that are flacking for the way things are, open borders, including open borders for criminals, including open borders for the kind of person that would murder a young woman. This is Katie Porter, Congresswoman from California, running for U.S. Senate.
Well, I think when a horrible tragedy like this happens, I think whenever we're dealing with violent crime, there is a sense of outrage, of sadness, and of loss. But I think the important thing to focus on is any one instance shouldn't shape our overall immigration policy, which has so many different facets, including economic choices about what workers to allow in and how to create prosperity in America. So the situation is tragic and it's a loss, and it's important to acknowledge that, but also to recognize how all the other parts of immigration policy fit together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's too bad what happened, but let's move on already. We got to focus on how the moving parts of our immigration system, and again, the follow-up question that wasn't asked. Really, which moving part would allow somebody like the individual accused of murdering Lakin Riley in this country? Because one of the moving parts right now is doing that. Oh yeah, that wasn't asked. Not just Katie Porter. I mean, again, it just got worse as the week went on. The mayor of Athens, Georgia, this eunuch named Kelly Gertz, of course, lifelong educator, course he is.
And you mentioned that too in the press conference. Nobody cares.
That those families that are here came here under less than ideal circumstances. I've outlined my desire for better federal legislation that would standardize the immigration process. We've not been living in that environment. I mentioned I was a career educator. I've worked with a lot of students and their families in this community. And the practical reality is that those families tend to be blended amongst a variety of immigration statuses. We want to create a stable environment for people in our communities. And when that community is disrupted by hate or vitriol, that's not a safe environment for their school children and their families to live in.
So that's the reaction to Laken Riley's murder, is to talk about the safe environment for people in this country illegally, who he seemed to say are here sort of accidentally, through no fault of their own. They happen to be in our community or in this country. Of course, none of that is true. This is a reaction you're getting to all of the violent crime that we've documented this week, starting with Laken Riley's murder. That's who you're dealing with on the other side. Frank on the northwest side.
Hi, good morning, Dan and Amy. I just wanted to bring up a point where it seems there are some similarities between what happened in China in the 60s before communism and what's going on now in the United States, where they're trying to defund the police and, through indoctrination and brainwashing, basically. I just wanted to get your point on that, because it seems like that's what they're trying to do, to sort of turn us into a communist or socialist state. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the call, Frank. I mean, right there. I mean, it's the disintegration strategy that Peter Schweitzer outlined nicely yesterday, and I guess that's from the excerpts I've read. It's central to the thesis of his new book, Blood Money. So I'd encourage you to listen to our conversation with Peter Schweitzer from yesterday, because this is Sun Tzu. This is win the war without firing a bullet. Let your opponent, facilitate your opponent engendering his own demise. And the plays are the fentanyl manufacture and distribution in this country. Trump was right when he said at the border yesterday, poisoning our kids, poisoning young people in this country. That's what's happening. The trafficking in guns to street gangs, the social media manipulations through TikTok. I mean, not that there aren't other actors afoot on social media and other platforms. There certainly are, but just a few examples. The response to the viral outbreak at the Wuhan Virology Lab, and still certain questions unanswered about that. What other bioterrorism is potentially being cooked up in China? The Confucius Institutes on college campuses. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, and it all comes in the form of incentivizing us to do things that may be ultimately detrimental. And it starts from the philosophy that turned out to be wrong, that we were going to bring China into the community of nations, Communist China into the community of nations, confer them MFN status for trading purposes, and through trade, we would defang them and make them an ally, or at least a responsible nation, rather than a predator. And what we turned out to have done, it seems pretty clear at this point, is to have subsidized our greatest enemy, to have subsidized the greatest threat to freedom in the Western world. James in Naples.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. We know that Joe Biden is the peg boy of Xi and Putin and Obrador, and he's done enormous harm to the country. But do you think in terms of a strategy for Donald Trump, would it make sense for him to, when he talks about his revenge tour or lack of revenge, to actually pardon or state that he would pardon Joe Biden in advance of the election?
Thanks for the call, James. Boy. I think if I were him, I would just stick with success for America is going to be my revenge. Having a successful country with border security and safer streets and more economic opportunity and lower prices at the pump and the grocery store, that's going to be my quote-unquote revenge. I wouldn't get into extending any olive branches in that direction the way they were extended to Hillary Clinton. I think it's a fool me once situation here because I do want part of the revenge and the success for America to include a reckoning for law enforcement and federal law enforcement and national security agencies, and also the Biden family for what is pretty obvious, pretty strong circumstantial case they were involved in. And we'll see what additional evidence comes out as the impeachment inquiry investigation goes forward. But yeah, I wouldn't be real excited to, it's with some misplaced notion of for the good of the country, I'm going to tell you that we're going to end all of this business if I'm elected, because I don't think it really gets him anything. I don't think he'll get any sort of reciprocity in terms of the response if Trump were to be elected again. Because as we've talked about before, actually earlier this week, I think the response is going to be violent and chaotic for an extended period of time. Right. And the idea that they won't be engaging in lawfare from the outside and they're within their circles of influence on the inside the same way they did from 2016 to 2020 is naive. John in Marengo.
Hey, I was going to say I think what Greg Abbott ought to start doing is instead of putting them on buses and driving them to Chicago and New York and all these places, put them in a bus with black windows and bring them right to Mexico and tell them it's Arizona.
Okay. Thanks for the call, John. Pete in Glen Ellen.
Dan and Amy, good morning. I'm not talking about illegals or oligarchs, but it could be suburban oligarchs. And I just want to bring attention to the High School District 87 $183 million / $312 million referendum that's on the March 19th ballot. The district is saying that they want to improve safety and security measures in the district.
This is for Glenbard High Schools?
Yeah, Glenbard High Schools. Mm-hmm. It's just so irresponsible. They're putting out stuff saying that they want to improve the safety and security at the schools, but they're sitting on $110 million in cash, which is just offensive and irresponsible. We're trying to run a Vote No campaign. Your users can visit our website, votenod87.com. They've already got over $50,000 from their vendors, to support the Vote Yes campaign, and we're trying to stay under the D2, recording to run our campaign. So it's an uphill battle, but thanks for taking my call.
Wait, Pete, real quick. So what if the bond issue passed? What would that mean for the average property tax owner in Glen Ellen? Do you know if somebody who owns a $300,000 or $400,000 home, that would increase their taxes by how much? Do you have any idea?
Well, first of all, show me a $300,000 house.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Secondly, right, it's $300, a year, but you multiply that out. There are a lot of homes that are $8-9 million homes, and then you're talking $1,000, $1,200. We have an online calculator to do that. But
okay, you have an online calculator at the site. Okay. All right. Thanks for the call, Pete. I mean, and by the way, yeah, you've got some uber wealthy people, but you also have some middle income people still in Glen Ellen who've lived there all their lives. Just like you have a middle income person in Wheaton named Larry Proft who's lived there all his life, and his house is probably not worth $250,000. So, it's not all the rich and famous there in Glen Ellen and these western burbs paying these usurious property taxes. Chuck in Delavan to close it out.
Hey, thanks for mentioning my Dan, papering over who Putin is. Hey, 2 weeks ago, I keep telling you guys about these white chicken chilies I've been winning. Last week, a week ago, I was with 275 bikers, first place. Last week, I was with 250 Lutherans at the Sugar Creek Lutheran Church in Wisconsin. So I quit my job yesterday, so what I want to do is I want to propose that I come down to the studio and I'll cook in a 15-minute segment. I'll give us all the recipes for this delicious Air Mongolian chicken chili. So I was wondering if I could do that next week.
We're going to set it up for sure. Yeah, absolutely, Chuck.
Actually, yeah.
Chuck in studio, that's the lock. Absolutely.
Santa Claus comes early. All right, thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy. Have a wonderful weekend. Plenty of sunshine today, a high of 62 degrees, and then 70 on Sunday. 9 a.m., WIND.
Former President Trump just arrived at a secured courthouse in Florida. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.